Live from Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, Comcast Sportsnet brings you Houston Astros baseball. Today on this Labor Day, the Astros open a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins. Good afternoon on this Labor Day. Bill Brown and Alan Ashby. We watched the Astros get a rousing win yesterday. The Twins just took 2 of 3 from the Rangers, and we're focusing on pitching and young starting pitching for the Astros, Ash.
And why not? Yesterday it was Brett Oberholzer. We've got a little theme running with Brett Oberholzer and Paul Clemens, who goes out there today.
Clemens, 25 years old, 4-4. He's made 1 start. That was excellent. And Oberholzer now has made 6 starts, 4-1 with a 2.79 ERA. Got the first complete game by an Astro yesterday, and it was a dandy of a shutout against the Seattle Mariners, Ash.
And those are the 2 main pieces in the Michael Bourne deal. And so they're starting to come together. Brett Oberholzer certainly is. And like you mentioned, Brownie, that first complete game, first shutout of the year for the ball club. Just a dominating performance. Allowing, I believe, 4 hits in the ballgame, 5 strikeouts, and a little bit of celebration with teammates after the ballgame. A great day for Brett Oberholzer.
It's been interesting to watch the development of these 2 guys since the Michael Bourne trade, and now here they are in the same rotation. And Paul Clemens has been used in relief throughout the season until a few days ago when he made his first Major League start against the White Sox. It was a very good one.
It was a good one. 6 innings for Paul Clemens in that ballgame after working 30 games out of the bullpen and going to the minor leagues, trying to extend that arm a little bit. He has a good fastball. He can go mid-90s, has a good over-the-top curveball. In Chicago, that high fastball was getting outs. The curveball, you can see, is a gem. But that high fastball also has led to 13 home runs against the righty on the season. So that's an issue you have to watch.
Jose Altuve is off to quite a September start. He was 3 for 4 yesterday. Is this going to be a sweet September for Jose? Julia Morales has more in a moment.
Comcast Sportsnet, and the Astros open a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins today. And coming off a win over the Mariners, where Jose Altuve scored the first run of the game in the bottom of the 8th. That's after he smacked a leadoff double, one of his 3 hits on the day. Very good start to the month of September for Altuve, who had a dismal month of August. He started the year very good. .324 average in April, and then in July his batting average dropped a bit. Also started to suffer from minor injuries to the quad, keeping him out a few games. August, you see there, was his worst month of the season, batting 200, striking out 21 times in 26 games. His aggressive style of play, though, never changed. Bo Porter saying that he never saw him trying to do too much. He was pitched to a little differently, maybe just one of those months there. And then Brett Wallace, who also had his struggles this year, said he still played the game hard. He was swinging early, being aggressive, and that's what we like to see from Altuve. September obviously off to a good start for him, though, and teammates, coaches very happy to see Altuve doing well, but no one prouder maybe than his father, Carlos Altuve, who was in the stands yesterday. He flew in from Venezuela this weekend, and this is the first time that he has seen his son play in an Astros uniform in person. So a special moment there for Altuve and his father. Coming up, Altuve in the 2-hole today against the Minnesota Twins as the Astros try to grab the first of 3. We're going to have a little fun today. First pitch and lineups are around the break. Stay with us.
By Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Progressive. Visit progressive.com today. Game 1 of a 3-game series. The Twins won all 3 between these two clubs in Minnesota. Now the Astros get the home field series against this Minnesota club, which has just come from Arlington, Texas, beating the Rangers twice in a 3-game set. Carlos Corcoran there on the bench, and the word is he may be close to going out on a very brief minor league rehab assignment, which would put him with a AAA club. That would be kind of fun for Carlos, but he's been cleared now for activities. Ron Gardenhire's team coming in on this road trip after a 13-7 month of August with a 59-76 record. Gardy in the last year of his contract. He's been the Twins manager since 2002. Only the second Twins manager since 1986. What tremendous longevity. Tom Kelly lasted a long time in that job, and they've had that continuity throughout their minor leagues. Ash, they call a guy up to the major leagues, and they know that he knows how to play the game. That's what the Twins have been known for down through the years.
Talk about the guys playing the game right, and that has been the trademark of the Minnesota Twins, and it's paid off as they've gotten into the postseason on multiple occasions without the highest payrolls around in their league.
Paul Clemens going to the mound now, shooting for win number 5 of the season for Paul. His first major league start, a very good one, but a no decision. He left with a 2-1 lead. Here's the lineup he's facing today. Alex Presley leading it off in center field. Darren Mastriani in right field. Ryan Dozier at second base. Josh Willingham, the DH. Trevor Plouffe at third base. Chris Herman, the catcher. Chris Colavello at first. Cleve Thomas in left field. Pedro Florimon is the shortstop.
25-year-old right-hander Paul Clemens goes to the mound. 4-4 on the year. 5.81 the ERA. And making his second start now. That first one at Chicago against the White Sox. Took a no decision in that game, working 6 innings of 1-run ball, allowed just 4 hits in that one and a couple of walks. Paul Clemens has allowed 13 home runs over the course of his work out of the bullpen on the year. Defensively for the Astros this afternoon, here on the plate, Jason Castro. Around the infield, Chris Carter, Jose Altuve, Jonathan Villar, and Matt Dominguez. In the outfield, Brandon Barnes in center. He's flanked by Trevor Crow in right today and Robbie Grossman in left.
So Paul Clemens, who made the club as a reliever, has made several appearances this year, of course, as a reliever, 30 of them, in fact, and 1 as a starter. Has that 5.81 ERA, but a chance to reinvent himself a little bit after he went to AAA Oklahoma City and was cast in a starting role there and came back to join this rotation, which is a 6-man rotation now. And he's off to a good start based on what he did against the White Sox that last time out.
A whip on the season, 1.4. He doesn't walk a whole lot of people, but he's allowed a little bit more in terms of hits per inning on the year, more hits than innings. And again, mention those home runs. That's the one thing you really watch with Paul Clemens, as he leaves a lot of fastballs up in the strike zone.
His first ever appearance against the Minnesota Twins about to begin. And it is Alex Presley. Presley, a part of that deal for Justin Morneau with Pittsburgh. And he was at AAA for the Pirates at Indianapolis, so was called up and had a good game yesterday, going 3 for 4 at Texas against the Rangers. 289, 2 homers, 5 runs batted in for Alex Presley. He was an 8th round draft choice in 06 from Monroe, Louisiana. Lives in Shreveport. Showing bunt. And he takes that first pitch from Paul Clemens. It's ball 1. Presley went to the University of Mississippi. Presley last year had 346 at bats for the Pirates, hitting .237 with 10 homers, driving in 25. Clemens hits the corner and makes it a 1-ball, 1-strike count. So we look at the Justin Morneau trade. Spent his entire career with the Twins, 11 years. The AL MVP in 2006, and Presley acquired in that deal. They'll get a player to be named later from the minor leagues. Morneau had a rough month of July, but in August he was superb, and that of course had to pique the interest of the Pirates, who were looking for more slugging in their attack and a first baseman who could produce runs. So they made the move for the longtime Twin, and that leaves Joe Mauer now, who's on the disabled list. They were together for 10 years. Fly ball hit up the right field line. Jose Altuve has the angle on it. Trevor Crow coming in. Altuve at foul ground takes care of out number 1 for Clemens. Now Mastriani comes up next. Formerly with the Toronto Blue Jays. And playing right field today. 176. Just recalled from AAA Rochester on Saturday. He played in the game yesterday against the Texas Rangers. And he was deked at second base on a play by the Twins, by the Rangers second sacker, Ian Kinsler. He slid in when the ball was in the outfield. Wound up getting thrown out of the plate. There's ball 1 as Mastriani takes it.
Saw a little conversation there going on with home plate umpire Joe West. In fact, it looked like Joe West might have been monologuing and might have been having a little fun over that issue yesterday.
Well, he may have. It's a strike, make it 1-1. Mastriani, 28 years old, from Mount Kisco, New York. He went to Southern Indiana University. 16th round pick of the Blue Jays in 07. A waiver claim by the Twins prior to last year. Hits this one in the air, and the third baseman Matt Dominguez comes in, but the catcher Jason Castro is underneath. Well, 2 foul pops for Paul Clemens start the day. It's a bit unusual.
Not normally the way you see a game get started.
Nope.
So I guess with Paul Clemens, you don't say make him put it on the ground, just make him keep fouling it off.
Brian Dozier comes up next, a former shortstop who, as a second baseman, has hit 15 homers, the most by a Twins second baseman in team history. He's driven in 57 runs with a .244 batting average. Dozier had two very big hits in one game against the Astros in Minnesota, August 2nd. He had a game-tying hit in the 9th, and then the game-winning hit in the 13th inning in Game 1 of that series. He's from the South, Tupelo, Mississippi. He went to the University of Southern Mississippi, and he's behind 0-2 in the count. Last year with the Twins, he hit 234 and 316 at bats, and had that good series against the Astros, 333, with 5 hits in the 3 games. That's out to left center field, and Brandon Barnes is over for the running catch. So 3 fly ball outs get it done for Paul Clemens in inning number 1. The Astros come up in just a moment. Up to face the Houston Astros, Paul Porter has put together this lineup for the day. Left fielder Robbie Grossman, second baseman Jose Altuve, catcher Jason Castro, third baseman Matt Dominguez, first baseman Chris Carter, right fielder Trevor Crowe, center fielder Brandon Barnes, DH LJ Ho, shortstop Jonathan Villar.
27-year-old left-hander, a Canadian-born Andrew Albers goes to the mound. 2-2, 2.92 the ERA. He's had early success now, 5 major league starts. Won his first 2, one at Kansas City, one beating Cleveland in Minnesota, but has lost his last 2 decisions. Andrew Albers, not known as a hard thrower.
Well, in fact, his average fastball velocity has been 86 miles per hour, but very effective. And Robbie Grossman gets the game started for Houston. He takes a look at it, and it's strike 1 at 83 miles per hour to a .262 hitter with 4 homers, 21 runs batted in. Grossman, as a right-handed batter, is hitting .299. And you notice out of the gate that Albers works from the stretch with nobody on. That's his style. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, that was quite a beginning for him with those 2 games you talked about. Shutout ball against Kansas City and Cleveland. In the air to right center field. That's a long run for Presley, and it gets down and it gets deep into right center field for a Grossman leadoff double, his 14th. And Robbie, who had a good series against the Twins in Minnesota, going 5 for 13, is aboard with double number 14 of the year.
The more you watch Robbie Grossman, the more you have to believe that this young man can swing it consistently well from the right side of the plate. He's done a fine job since his return to the club from the left side, but this right side just comes as naturally as can be.
Well, good start for the Astros, who won 2-0 yesterday with 2 runs in the 8th. Grossman checking around to see where the second baseman Dozier's playing. Shortstop Florimon behind him as Altuve bats. 270 for Jose, 4 homers, 42 runs batted in. And pushing a bunt up the first base line. Here's the toss. No, there's no toss. And Altuve has bunted his way on as Dozier couldn't get there. Colabello coming in, and there was no play at first on Altuve, who bunts for a single.
Well, the last couple of bunts the Astros have laid down, same result. Won a squeeze yesterday by Brandon Barnes, and now this bunt by Altuve. In each case, nobody covering at first base, certainly not in time, and a couple of base hits resulting.
And you see Dozier was sprinting. He just couldn't get there. He had a long way to go. And now it's first and third, nobody out for Jason Castro. Castro had a huge hit in yesterday's game, an RBI double in the 8th to give it a 1-0 Houston lead after the Altuve double. And Castro has 35 doubles, tied for 5th in the American League with a .278 average, 18 homers. He's driven in 54. Great year for doubles for Jason. Most by an Astros catcher in club history in one season. And he takes ball 1 with Matt Dominguez on deck.
Pretty good pitch by Alberts, trying to spot the bottom of the knees. Joe West didn't like it.
Alberts, 27 years old, a 10th round pick in 08 by San Diego. Castro with a soft swing there goes to a 1-1 count.
It's always funny when you take a swing like that, if you want to call it a swing, and you realize you haven't even finished it, so well after the ball has crossed, you just go ahead and try to finish the swing. This is not the way I planned it. Okay, let's go ahead and finish here.
Throw goes over to first, and Altuve with 30 steals has drawn some attention. Albers, after being drafted by San Diego, started in their system, and then he missed 2 years. Missed 2009 and 10 with Tommy John surgery. Was released, started over again with the Twins organization in 2011, and has had to work his way all the way up the ladder from Fort Myers to New Britain to AAA Rochester. Fouled away, and this year at Rochester he was excellent. 11-5 with a 2.86 ERA and 22 starts. Kept his walks very low. And then, as Ash mentioned, when he got that first major league start, it was a dandy. At Kansas City, August 6th, he won it 7-0. He became the first Twins starter to get an out in the 9th inning this year, going 8 1/3 with shutout ball, and then he blanked Cleveland on a complete game 2 hitter the next time out. Breaking ball, foul by Castro, and this is what he does. He'll throw a variety of pitches, and evidently his fastball is very tough for the hitters to pick up. The batting average against his fastball is .233. He went to the breaking ball on that last one.
Well, after those first 2 starts, 17 in the 3rd scoreless innings, 6 hits allowed that span, and you would think providing hope for all soft tossers trying to make it to the major leagues.
You bet.
Makes me think of Randy Jones a bit.
Oh yeah. He throws to first.
Once upon a time, an outstanding soft tossing left-hander.
Well, when Albers, who was growing up in Saskatchewan, Canada, was interested in finding a job again after being cut adrift by the Padres, he drove to Arizona from Saskatchewan in 2011 and had tryouts for several teams. Did not get an opportunity to sign, and then he called the Twins and drove to Minnesota. Pitch is inside, 2-2. The Twins worked out a deal with Albers. He said, all I want is reimbursement for my expenses to drive there if you sign me. And they worked him out and signed him. And then the saga began. Very low-cost free agent, Andrew Albers, 2-2 as a major leaguer with a 2.92 ERA and a .215 batting average against him through his first 5 major league starts. Now it's 3 balls, 2 strikes to Castro.
Yeah, the difficulty being when you bring with you to a tryout camp an 86-mile-an-hour fastball, you're not likely to impress a lot of people. So I would imagine it took some open minds to say, yeah, let's bring him on board and see what he can do.
True. It's a big pitch coming at 3-2 with Dominguez on deck. It was Castro who snapped the Astros 0 for 22 with men in scoring position, with that run producing double in the 8th inning yesterday. And shoots this one into left field. That makes it 1-0 Houston, with Grossman scoring the first run. Castro picks up RBI number 55. Altuve to second base.
Jason Castro is simply impressive when he gets it going. All fields are in play with his bat, and that head just stays down through the baseball, driving it on the ground. That's the kind of shot through the left side that when you see it going by, that's hit by a right-hand hitter, but no, not in this case.
3 straight hits by the Astros give them the early lead, and now they push for a big inning with Matt Dominguez batting next. Dominguez settles in with a .241 batting average. He has 19 homers. He's driven in 66 runs. Strike one to Matt. He went 4 for 15 in the Seattle series. He's put together a 3-game hitting streak. Base runners at first and second for Domingo, who has 8 homers and 20 runs batted in since the All-Star break. This one goes to right field. Mastriani getting underneath for that throw to third base as Altuve tags. Here's the catch and the throw coming in. It's cut off by the shortstop on out number 1.
Defensively for these Minnesota Twins this afternoon, they'll line them up starting behind the plate. Chris Herman, around the infield right to left Chris Colabello, Ryan Dozier, Pedro Florimon, and Trevor Plouffe. In the outfield it's Alex Presley, just coming over from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's flanked by Darren Mastriani and Clete Thomas.
Now Chris Carter bats. And Carter has runners at first and third and 1 out in the inning. He is 0 for his last 9. In Chicago, he went 6 for 12 with 3 homers and 6 runs batted in. .214 for the season. 26 bombs. He's driven in 70. Carter looks at it, and it's strike one to Chris.
By the way, that at bat by Matt Dominguez, a second straight time for Matt. Going back to yesterday late, where he hit a fly ball to right field, moving a man from third base. You can see him working it.
That's a very good sign. Carter's behind in the count. No balls, 2 strikes. Andrew Albers has become the first pitcher in 22 years to put together 37 innings in his first 5 major league starts. But this first inning is going to be a stressful one for him. He's thrown 15 pitches so far. That's rocked over shortstop into left center field. That'll make it 2-0. Here's Castro stretching it out for third. The throw comes in on the RBI single by Carter. On the 0-2 pitch, he picks up RBI number 71.
A nice first inning here by the ball club, and for Chris Carter, he sees a pitch up and out over the plate to handle. What we had heard about Albers was that when he misses on a corner, he misses off the corners, but that hasn't been the case here. Up a bit and finding a little more plate than he would like.
The Astros have 2 in the first. Pitching coach Rick Anderson out to talk it over with Andrew Albers. Trevor Crowe will be next. Twins had the 10th best ERA in the American League, 4.26. They kept their walks down. They're 3rd best in walks, and Ron Gardenhire's club coming off that 13-7 August, hoping to finish strong, get Gardy a new contract. Altuve and Bo Porter are talking about it as Trevor Crowe settles in. 216 for Trevor, 1 homer, 5 runs batted in. Had a big day yesterday, going 2 for 4. And he returned as a September call-up after rehabbing and playing a lot of games for AAA Oklahoma City to regain the strength in his right shoulder. He ran into a wall and injured the AC joint in that right shoulder weeks ago. He went on the DL June 20th. Shoots this one into right field to make it 3-0 Astros. So Crow goes opposite field for RBI number 6 for him, and it's hit number 5 of the inning. Astros scoring, Carter taking second.
Sometimes what may appear to be the unimpressive base hits can be the very impressive ones to the pros. A fight-off job on a pitch up and in. Crow just shoots it into right field. That's a very nice piece of work.
Excellent hands. And now the Astros have Carter at second, Crow at first. Still one out with Brandon Barnes the batter. He put down a squeeze bunt for run number 2 in the 8th inning yesterday. 239, 6 homers, 31 runs batted in for Brandon. And he looks at ball 1. The Astros gave him 2 shots at that squeeze. First one was fouled off as he pinch hit for Brad Wallace. And then he got one down and got a hit on it as well. Brandon was 3 for 10 in the Seattle series. Fouls that one in. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Happy birthday wishes to media relations staffer Dina Propus today, and also Astros Hall of Fame broadcaster Milo Hamilton, who will be joining us a little later. Milo's 86 today. That's grounded foul. One into, travels of baseball players are pretty intriguing, and Twins have a couple of pretty fascinating stories. And Albers and Colabello, the first baseman. Albers, after being released by the Padres, we mentioned he had Tommy John surgery, joined Quebec in the Independent Canadian American Association. And so he's had travels all around in a couple of different countries. And he actually was the closer for that Quebec team. He had 17 saves. He gets a swing and a miss and a strikeout for out number 2. Dina Propus, happy birthday to Dina today. She's a big help to all of us who do the media work for the Astros and other media outlets.
Dina's finding out that she's on TV. What am I doing on TV?
She ducked behind Chris Machado's computer there. Now it's LJ Ho's DH today. LJ hits one up the right field line. That slicing foul ball is out of play for strike 1. LJ was 4 for 16 in the Seattle series. He had been torrid throughout the month of August. Has tailed off a little bit lately. 138 the last 7 games. Trying to get it turned around in the other direction. He had been batting second a lot, but in the 8th spot again today at 272 with 1 homer, 5 runs batted in. Batted 8th yesterday, and he was 0 for 3. Was robbed on one occasion by Nick Franklin with a couple of men on base on a ball he hit very well on the ground. Jonathan Villar's on deck as the Astros sent 8 to the plate in the first inning. That bounces, and it's blocked by the catcher, Herman. 2-1. Joe Mauer is on the disabled list with a concussion. That's a big loss for the Twins. Mauer's among the league leaders in several departments. Batting average .324. On base average .404. He is the Twins' mainstay. Bounce to shortstop. Florimon with the throw on to Colabello. And it's happy birthday today and a 3-0 birthday lead.
Info quote of the day is from Paul Clemens, who's on the mound now, and what he learned in the bullpen. I learned to command my pitches. It's got to be on the black. You've got to have good swing and miss pitches. You have to pick your spots if you're going to throw one over the plate. Now, in Paul Clemens' last start, he gave up 1 run over 6. Very solid, but Porter wants to see command of that fastball today. He said we sent him down to AAA to establish the fastball and get stretched out while he was down there. And he thinks in his last start he went to the breaking stuff a little too early, a little too often. We'll have to watch for that today, guys.
He faces Josh Willingham here in the second inning. And he's been spotted with a 3-0 lead. Ball 1 to Willingham. 213 for Josh. 12 homers. 45 runs batted in. He is DHing today. He came back from the disabled list August 9th after left knee surgery. Bounces that one foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Josh, 34, one of the older players on the Twins. He was a draft choice of the Marlins back in 2000. They traded him to Washington. Another trade took him to Oakland after the 2010 season. He signed as a free agent prior to last year. Bangs 1 foul. He had a big year last year for the Twins with 35 homers, 110 runs batted in.
Got himself a new bat that doesn't have enough stickum on it. You're supposed to have all those bats ready to roll.
Supposed to is the operative word.
Yep.
Well, he's tied for second on the Twins club in homers with 12. They are 12th in long balls with 127. 179 career homers for Josh Willingham. And that one goes foul. Still a 1 ball 2 strike count for Josh. Josh is from Florence, Alabama. Well, he's caught. He's played first and third base in the outfield. Had some solid RBI years with the Marlins.
Powerful guy.
Yeah, he really is. He drove in 98 runs, hit 29 homers for Oakland in 2011. He won't bite on the breaking ball, and the count is 2-2. We check back on Clemens, and Clemens in 6 innings of those 18 outs got 11 of those outs in the air against the White Sox in his last start. Missing there. He goes to 3-2, and he appears to be a little tentative here on Willingham. Probably not trying to be. Normally speaking, after a club gives a pitcher a 3-run first inning, he's going to attack the hitters. That's cranked, and it's going to hook and go foul in the left field corner.
Willingham a little quick in this at bat, but that pitch was right there where a guy would love to get it. That series of comments from Clemens about how he's learned that you have to pitch on the corners and all that sort of thing. Everybody can tell you that accomplishing that always the more difficult task. Keep in mind, over 30 games earlier this year in relief, that ERA up over 6.30.
That's in the air to center field. Barnes backing. Clemens wins the battle for out number 1. A reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Happy Labor Day. Hope you're having a restful day of it. You know, it's a different touch is to drive down the street and see some people who put flags out on holidays like this. Very nice. 233 for Trevor Plouffe, 12 homers. He's driven in 42. He takes ball 1 from Clemens. Twins have really emphasized the homegrown players throughout their organizational history. Plouffe, a first-round pick of theirs in 2004. He cracks this one to left center field. That's a high flyer going over Grossman and high up off that wall, and that's a home run. Plouffe hits number 13, and the Twins are on the board, trailing 3-1. For the man who cranked out 24 bombs last year, hits number 13, giving him 43 runs batted in, getting 1 quick run back for Minnesota.
The ball carried well out to left center field. But like you say, plenty of power shown last year by this guy, and it's a hole to one as Clemens gives up his 14th on the year.
Chris Herman bats next. Herman hits one to left center field. That will loop in for a hit. Backed up by Barnes. It looked as if Robbie Grossman was maybe thinking about diving for that ball. And then it got by him, but he knew Barnes was backing him up. So Herman's aboard on the looping single.
The home run by Plouffe, and you can see he got that one. And that was intriguing by Robbie Grossman in left center field as he let this ball go on by, maybe not wanting to make a tough play and have the ball kick off the glove.
Yeah, and he knew Barnes would be behind him, so if it kicked off his glove toward center field, he'd have to go after it. And now it's Chris Colabello. Colabello at 183 with 4 homers, has 8 runs batted in, just 0-53 in his last 10 days. But he's had some moments as a 29-year-old rookie. Hot shot to third, Dominguez to second, Altuve to first, 5-4-3 double play. 1 run, 2 hits, nobody left. 3-1 Astros after 1.5.
Live enhances your Astros experience via computer, smartphone, or tablet. Get in-depth stats and join the social buzz. In-game live, only on csnhouston.com. Guys.
Thanks, Julia. One way to keep up with the team. These guys are pretty active. Got the gear on a Labor Day game. Nice day to get out and a nice day to stay in the air conditioning. Well, the Twins ought to appreciate it, having come from Arlington, Texas, and the heat into this nice environment.
Where they just beat the Rangers 2 out of 3 and making life tough on Texas.
Yes, so that keeps it close in the AL West. Jonathan Villar at 255 with no homers has 3 runs batted in. Texas has just a 1-game lead on Oakland on this Labor Day. Villar hangs one out to left center field. Here's a long run for Presley. That ball bangs off the wall. And Villar has a double. Leading off the second inning the way Grossman led off the first. Double number 6 for Jonathan Villar.
At the start of play today, Jonathan Villar is the only Astros hitter on the season who has hit over 300 here at Minute Maid Park. And he's well over that figure and adds to it here with this drive. Boy, that's a good-looking swing from the right side. We have seen mostly the left-handed side from Villar, and he slashes the ball around but drives this one.
Back from his thumb miseries, he now has 6 doubles. And the Astros have put together 6 hits in this game already. Grossman got the first one. That was a double to right center. Showing bunt, and he misses that bunt try. It's strike 1. The Astros have a record here in their home ballpark of 22-47 this year. It's been a struggle for them to put things together. The bunt hugs the line, stays fair. Herman with no play, and that's a bunt single for Robbie Grossman. The Astros get 2 bunt singles in the first 2 innings, and they had the squeeze bunt for a single yesterday in the 8th inning for Brandon Barnes, so they have 3 bunt singles in the last 3 innings of play.
The formula is just not changing right now. Whatever works, stick with it. Get your leadoff double, drop down the bunt for the base hit, and then see what kind of inning you can put together. Oh, that's well done.
And it gets him aboard. It gets Villar to third base with nobody out for Bo Porter's club. And Jose Altuve, the batter. You get the first bunt single. So they have certainly stirred up trouble for Andrew Albers. Albers has been averaging under 1 base runner per inning. Ground ball third. Plouffe checks the runner. Now he's got him if he can get him back in time, and he does. Villar strayed too far from third base and was tagged out. Plouffe was gauging where Villar was and estimated that he could get over and tag him. And he gets a very important out for the Twins here. That is not the way the Astros want to run the bases.
That's a mistake from a base runner who really believes that he can do just about anything he wants. And his aggressiveness will win a lot of battles, but in this case he gets simply defeated. He tried to buy as much space down the line as possible as the third baseman came off the line, but eventually took 1 too many steps.
Over aggressiveness, that's going to happen from time to time. Now Jason Castro, who had the RBI single through the left side, will bat with Grossman at second, Altuve at first, after the 5 unassisted play on Villar. But that hurts to lose a runner at third with nobody out. And now the double play stays in order for Albers, so he's got a chance to escape this. That's ball 1. You can see what Villar was trying to do, certainly, Ash.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the tendency is to say rookie mistake, and maybe it is. But what I see with Villar is a guy who, whether he's a rookie or a veteran, he believes in his aggressive style on the bases, and I'm not sure he's going to curtail that right away.
That's a strike to make it 1-1, and I think we expected to see some aggressive mistakes from him. Right?
And I was also going to say I don't know that we want to see him curtail a lot of it. It also comes with a stolen base of home plate, and winning a ball game, dashing from second to third. He's been very, very good.
Have to agree with you. It's 2 balls and a strike. And by making mistakes, he will learn what his limitations should be as a major league player. But he's also made those things happen that you already detailed. And the Astros really don't want to curb his aggressiveness too much and take it away from him to the point that he is not allowed to use his natural talents in a positive way. Fouled away. The best thing probably, if a mistake like that is going to be made, is the team wins the game and it becomes a teachable moment and no real harm done.
You know what I'll add to that on this particular play? There may be a number of third basemen who, if you set it up identically, still don't come after him.
It's a good point.
They may go immediately for a double play towards second base.
It's a very good point. And then he scores the run. Yeah, that could have happened. Ground ball, fair up the left field line, and it kicks out towards center field. And that sends Grossman home and Altuve into third on an RBI single by Castro. His 56th run batted in, and a 4-1 Houston lead.
Yeah, based on 2 at-bats here this afternoon, it looks like Jason Castro is getting ready to get smoking hot once again. Another ground ball sharply hit up the third base side. Look at that head and shoulder stay down through the baseball. And I mean a short, compact stroke going down through the ball. That's gorgeous stuff from Jason. And apparently something is bothering Castro.
And now head athletic trainer Nate Lucero is coming out to join Dave Clark. Bo Porter is right behind.
Don't even know what to think could be bothering Jason here, unless he came into the ball game with something maybe aggravating him. See if we can pick up anything on an earlier swing here. Look at him stay down through the ball. Yeah, something was not agreeing with him there.
Wow. We don't want to jump to conclusions. It could be a groin or something of that nature. He's coming out of the game. And Cody Clark is going to pinch run for him and stay in to do the catching. And just from his reaction on that first swing, it looked like maybe something in the groin area. It might have been bothering him, but
told a teammate there with a thumb up that he thinks he's okay, but that's tough to come out of a game when you're swinging this well.
Yes.
He's just looking so good with the bat.
But Cody Clark takes over, and he's the pinch runner for Castro with Altuve at third and one out, and Dominguez the batter. Dominguez hit a fly ball to right his first time up. That's ball one. Domingo on a nice groove lately, and you talked about it, but he's hit .327 with 4 homers, 9 runs batted in the last 14 games. Anthony Swarzak is warming up for the Twins right now. So Matt's been doing a lot of things well. And yesterday he ripped out a line drive single his first time up. It's a 1-ball 1-strike count.
That hanging breaking ball is very fortunate to head back to Albers and not toward some fans in left field. Now between Jason Castro and Matt Dominguez, I would say in particular, these two guys are swinging the bats about as well as they can.
Line drive up the right field line, slicing, caught. The ball boy, good job there. Yeah, they've really both put together a few weeks of good solid swings, haven't they?
It's been nice and extended. It doesn't seem to leave in any major way right now. And Matt Dominguez a little more with that power type stroke, but well, you couldn't fault either guy in anything they're doing. What you hope is that you can maintain that type of swing.
8 hits already for the Astros. And that's the off-speed breaking pitch for a strikeout. Dominguez just couldn't keep his weight back, and then strikeout number 2 for Albers. He really pulled the string on him.
Haven't seen a lot of that to this point, really taking something off on any given pitch, but he's going to have to find something the way the Astros are battering the ball around here this afternoon.
We were told he flipped up an occasional 66-mile-per-hour curveball. Chris Carter singled in a run in the first inning on an 0-2 pitch. Foul tip for strike 1.
Aren't there infringement rights for involving Roy Oswalt on that 66-mile-an-hour job?
Yeah, that's an Oswalt. You're right. The opener of the homestand, the Astros got 5 hits and lost to Seattle 3-2. Then they got 4 hits, lost to Seattle 7-1. Then 8 hits and a 3-1 loss. Yesterday, 9 hits, they won 2-0. But today, 8 hits already before the second inning has ended. We've heard it for decades and decades about how hitting can be streaky, and we've seen several Astros players kind of hit in concert. Several Astros like Grossman and AT HOU. We talked about Castro and Dominguez. We're all hitting at the same time, and then some of them really fell off and fell off precipitously together. 1 ball 2 strikes, and now it seems that in a game like this, they may have several guys hot at the same time again. Paul Clemens wouldn't mind that one bit.
How much does offense mean to a ball club? Just looking at the American League last year, teams that got into the postseason, the top 2 teams in scoring runs in the league, Texas and the Yankees. Of course, those are clubs that certainly had a chance to get into the postseason. Texas Rangers let everything just flounder away right at the tail end.
Bull Porter's club up 4-1. Astros have out hit the Twins 8-2. Trevor Crow's on deck. Tantalizing pitch, but Carter's not biting, and it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Twins hadn't had a pitcher since they were the Washington Senators back in 1915 and 16, who pitched as well in his first 5 starts in the majors as Albers. Runner going from first, and it's foul back. He had allowed 8.03 base runners per 9 innings for his first 5 starts. So today, this has been the unusual one of the 6 as a major leaguer for Andrew Albers.
So you're saying he's kind of like a 100-year flood?
Pretty much. He's been the best hurler for them for his first 5 games in the majors since George Dumont, 1915 and 16. In the air, and the catcher Herman comes back for it, but will not get a play on this one. Still 2-2. You remember George Dumont, don't you?
I remember the name. I'm not going to go any further than that with you. Was he crafty at anything?
Not sure. I think he invented television, but other than that, I'm not certain.
Really? I am going to have to go back to school here soon.
Throw goes over to first base, and Clark gets back. Go for Clark. This may give him the opportunity for that first major league hit coming in off the bench. The Astros going to their second catcher here early in this game. They have Jake Elmore, who can be an emergency catcher, available, and they might be getting Carlos Corcoran back very soon from what we're hearing. That's a liner into right center field by Carter. Run number 5 comes home. Here's Clark coming to third base. Stop sign there. Carter in with an RBI double. He's 2 for 2. That's his 72nd run batted in. Double number 19 for Carter.
Heck of a job by Chris Carter, not trying to do too much, just popping the ball into right center field, and that'll be the demise of Albers here this afternoon. Chris Carter doing what the really good hitters do, taking a down and away pitch and just lining it into right center field. Maybe trying to pick up the numbers here at home for Carter.
Well, he's had 2 productive 2-strike hits, both driving in runs in this game. And the Twins go to their bullpen with a score 5-1 Houston. Back in a moment.
And history is brought to you by MD Anderson, making cancer history. September 2nd, 1971. Cesar Cedeno bloops an inside the park grand slam as a result of second baseman Jim Lefevre and right fielder Bill Buckner colliding to make the fifth inning catch. The dropped 200-foot fly ball enables the Astros to beat the Dodgers at the Astrodome 9-3. Give that guy a chance to run back in those days, and he would take full advantage.
He was dynamic. Right-handed reliever Anthony Swarzak comes in, relieving Andrew Albers. In 39 games, he's won 1, lost 2 with a 2.96 ERA. A lot of work, 82 innings.
Bill Buckner playing in the outfield.
How about that? Trevor Crow's the batter. Crow delivered a run-producing single to right field, and now the switch hitter will turn around. And there is strike one from Swarzak. Swarzak had a really good relief appearance in Minnesota against the Astros in a 6-4 Twins win August 3rd. 3 hitless innings with a walk and 5 punch outs. Brandon Barnes on deck. That's a foul ball back. No balls, 2 strikes. Swarzak had another outing in which he struck out 5. That was against the New York Mets August 19th for Anthony Swarzak, a second-round pick of the Twins in 04. He's from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Spent some time on the DL last year with a rotator cuff injury. Last year was his first time on an opening day roster. We looked up George Dumont, Ash.
So he did invent the TV.
No, not really. It's ball 1-1-2. George Dumont pitched for the Washington Senators 1915 through 1918 and Boston in 1919. He was 10-23 with a 2.85 ERA.
I was thinking for a moment he was one of my teammates, but I don't think I'll go back that far.
In the air in the left center field area is filled up. Thomas is there for the grab. And in the second inning for the Astros, 2 runners score on 4 hits. They lead at 5-1.
Dog Day at Minute Maid Park, brought to you by Purina. Bring your canine companion along to watch the Astros take on the Angels and enjoy a ton of dog-friendly activities. Get your dog's ticket by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com. Let's kick it up to the booth. They have a special guest up there.
Yeah, it's birthday time for Milo Hamilton, 86 years young and Hall of Fame broadcaster for so many years. 92, you went in with the Ford Frick Award. And,
you bet.
Back in 92. Man, you know.
It's only 21 years ago.
Isn't that amazing? It's just been an incredible career for you.
And you'll find out once you get to over 50, Brownie, But the years go quicker.
Right.
They do tend to do that a bit, don't they?
Well, how do you know?
I've got family that I can talk to.
Okay.
All one to Clee Thomas, but we wanted to have you on and just reminisce a little bit. You joined the Astros in '85. Is that correct, Milo?
That was the first year I was here, and the year after that was a big year, '86.
Yeah. Caught by Barnes for out number 1. And, Ash was talking about that '86 season the other day and the low predictions for the Astros that year.
Well, I think we were picked to finish 8th in a 10-team league. And we had a rookie manager, and we didn't think we had any pitching. And then all of a sudden, here they came, and Lanier learned his trade well under Whitey Herzog and really did a nice job. In fact, so good he was named manager of the year as a rookie manager.
Yeah.
Didn't hurt having Mike Scott turn his career around that year. And of course, Nolan had a big year. Bob Nepper, the pitching staff, turned out to be outstanding.
And Dr. Death showed up, Danny Darwin.
Yep.
And I think a trade that nobody probably remembers or looked at much of the time, but the leadership and having been on winner with the Dodgers, Davey Lopes was a big acquisition, I thought, because he could play some different places and had that veteran leadership in the clubhouse. He was a good guy, too.
Didn't run the bases too badly either.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then, as you look back on it now, Milo, you saw a regrouping period when the Astros then acquired some guys who had some years on them, so they got younger. '91 was a very young team in a rebuilding season, and then things got better in a hurry, didn't they?
Well, I kind of liken that when folks talk to me about what's going on with the club now. If McMullen hadn't decided to do what he did, and you get the Biggio's and the Bagwells, and Gonzo came along and he traded for Finley, and if they hadn't done that, you wouldn't have had those 10 or 12 good years when they all grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're looking for now with this group.
That's exactly right. And you've enjoyed being around young players your whole career and watching them develop, and that's what we're doing now.
And it's kept me young too, I think.
You bet.
So what do you see as you look at this club? What are some of the bright spots as you look toward the future?
Well, I'm really happy with Castro.
Yep.
And I hope that his injury's not anything. Have you had any report?
No, we haven't had a thing yet. There's a ball caught by Crow right in front of the bullpen wall. We're out number 2. No, we were speculating maybe a groin or something. Don't really know, do we?
Well, let's hope he didn't put a little tick in that knee.
Yeah.
Didn't look like it, did
Well,
it?
it really didn't. This is the year where he finally is healthy, and you're seeing the results with the bat. I would say over the past couple of weeks anyway, plus he's swinging it like a guy who's got a chance of being one of the game's really good hitters.
And nobody thought any catcher would ever break your record for doubles. I guess he's done that.
Yeah, well, by nobody you mean somebody you talked to once upon a time outside the ballpark?
Well,
he broke it in June. So.
Yeah, well, let's not trifle over small things.
That's right.
Alex Presley, the batter, and Clemens got the first 2 outs quickly.
Presley's got a whole new way to look at the game, doesn't he?
He sure does. Boy, how things can spin in a hurry for players who get traded, get called up from the minors, get a new chance with a brand new big league club.
Milo, Matt Dominguez is a guy that I've been watching really start swinging the bat better here recently. Plays a great third base. I see him as one of the real lock jobs toward the future.
If he's the guy that could end up hitting 275 with his power and the way he drives in meaningful runs, he could have a spot for a long time.
And the way he plays defense, yeah, he's a nice combination.
Well, now looking back on it, of course, the 04 and 05 seasons would have to be, I would think, up there at the top for you in your Houston years, Milo.
Yes, they really were, and you could just see it coming along. And then when Garner, and of course having known him since we were with the Pirates together with We Are Family, he wouldn't let that club quit after Memorial Day. And a lot of people thought, well, they can't come back with that record on Memorial Day. But he had a philosophy: we will not lose a series. And that's the way they did it. And if you think about it, we're trying to relate everything to what's going on now, guys. If this club, with these 1-run losses they've been having, in the series that could have gone the other way, you're talking about maybe another 20, 25 wins for this club. And that's where it's got to happen. They've got to learn how to win those one-run games.
Yeah, they obviously need some improvement in the back end of the bullpen, and that'll help in a number of ways in that regard, I would think. I was wondering, and let me see what this pitch winds up doing. I was wondering, through all your years of broadcasting, who that #1 favorite player you ever called games about might be.
Well, I guess I better stick to who I picked when I went in the Hall of Fame. The people that make the bats do a big plaque for you, and they ask you to pick your favorite player. And I wasn't with him but a couple of years. But for what he did with the game, 7 batting titles, never turned down an autograph, was a great ambassador. He was Mr. St. Louis. Musial would have to be my favorite when you combine the person and the player.
You know, it's interesting. We were just looking up some things on Musial yesterday, and Ash was looking up the fact I wasn't sure or didn't remember whether he had served in World War II or not, but he did.
Navy.
Okay. So, you know, you think about that whole era of players.
A lot of good guys were in the
Yes,
Navy.
yes. Including our guest here. But, you know, you had players who were prominent in the game at that point. Ted Williams and Hank Greenberg and all these guys.
Joe DiMaggio, 3
Jerry
years.
Coleman.
Bob Feller. They were gone for years from Major League Baseball.
And Yogi was in the invasion of Normandy.
He could have handled that himself, I have a feeling.
And what a great phrase about usual baseball's perfect night.
Ford Frick gave him that for the statue, didn't he?
Yes, he did. But yeah, that's a great choice.
And of course, being around during the Aaron chase, and Clemente was a great favorite. I was didn't do a club he was on, but the way he played the game.
Yes.
And in old Forbes Field, and you guys saw Forbes Field, he disappeared down behind the bullpen in the right field corner. There's a smash.
Yeah, it's out to left center field. This ball's hit well, and Robbie Grossman's going to have to go get it. And the Twins send a runner home to make it a 5-2 ball game. The throw is cut off from VR, so Mastriani winds up with an RBI double.
I like that job by VR, hitting Carter instead of that ball coming through.
That's right. And these are the things you look for, Milo, as you look for a team to develop.
But Clemente, a guy would see that ball go in the corner that just hit it. He'd think, well, I'm on double and maybe a triple. Then he looks up and the ball's already at second base. And there were 2 people who changed philosophies. Aaron could have won more batting titles, but chose to go the home run route, especially when the club moved to Atlanta. Clemente decided, and Clemente, I saw him hit some balls at Wrigley Field. Waveland Avenue wasn't the target, it was the house across the street. But he decided on the batting average more than the power. And interesting that those 2 guys, great players, would go different directions after they'd been in the game 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, 3,000 hits in each case, and of course Aaron and the home run. Well, he's the king, right?
Still is for me.
Yeah.
Now,
of course, I have a vested interest.
Well, you do, but a lot of people look at the era of the 90s and early 2000s differently than they do the other eras of baseball. And we've heard from Chris Davis this year that he regards the American League home run record to be Roger Maris's record, and I would have to agree with that, wouldn't you? Because, you know, even though these power hitters came along and shattered that mark in the National League, we just don't give them the credibility due.
No, and I guess one of these days, and I hear some people talk about it, maybe as the years wear down, they think, okay, it was part of the game. If we put them in the hall, then put in the plaque what they did.
Right.
And I would do that same thing for Rose. If you got the home run king and the strikeout king, the guy with the most hits got to be in Cooperstown. Just put a sentence or 2 down at the bottom. He was banned for a while for gambling, allegedly. Well, not allegedly, finally admitted. But he did it as a manager, not as a player.
Right. Now, what about where do you stand on Biggio going into the Hall of Fame and why he was not voted in?
I think he was a victim of the other guys that were on the ballot. I think some of the voters figured I'm not going to vote for some of these guys this year. I think, and as close as he came, if some of the guys with tainted figures that were on that ballot hadn't been on there, I think Bidgie goes in last year on the first year.
And he's a lock to go in next year, do you think?
Well, it's a tougher class.
Right.
I'm not saying I think he should go in, but they may have to put 2 or 3 or 4 guys in, which they haven't done for a long time.
Very selective, aren't they? And it should be.
I just wish that, not because I had the vote taken away, but I used to have a vote in the old timers. And like, I think Tony Oliva ought to be in there.
Yeah.
I think Gil Hodges ought to be in there. But they won't be in there now.
It's very difficult. It's the most difficult Hall of Fame. That's walk number 2 in the inning. Bo Porter just made a visit himself. Nobody warming up in the bullpen, so obviously he had a pointed message to deliver to Paul Clemens. But now Willingham comes up with 2 men on.
Best pitcher you ever called a game for?
Well, I think considering what he did in a short career, I'd have to say Koufax. Once he learned how to pitch, you remember when he came across that Brooklyn high school stage, the same one that Bob Aspromonte did. He didn't know what a strike zone was, I don't think. But boy, when he found it, I mean, and he wasn't a thrower. I mean, he was a pitcher.
He was certainly one of my idols as a kid. And
I'd have to put Gibby in there, too.
Yeah.
For what he did at that ERA and forced the game to change the height of the mound.
You mean a mere 1.12 ERA for a season?
That was crazy. It's been a great sport down through the decades for a lot of people.
And I love to watch Seaver pitch.
Yeah.
Of course, you got a chance to call a lot of games for Roger Clemens and the great seasons he had here in Houston, well after the point where I would imagine a lot of people thought he would still be that effective.
And when a guy doesn't even have any spikes on and didn't think he was going to pitch that day and goes down and warms up down in the batting cage, and when got to the bullpen, Stretch Suba said, "You want to warm up?" He says, "I think I already have," because Kobe was here with his mom.
That's right.
And he called him down out of the suite, took him into the cage, warmed up to him. Then he comes in, makes a sacrifice. I mean, if he hadn't contributed that day, that might have been a different game.
Yes. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah, you have all these fond memories of great players doing great things.
Well, the Scott no-hitter, when you consider, and Ash could tell us more about that better than anybody because he knew him well. Not just on the baseball diamond, but on the golf course. They were both about 1 or 2 handicaps.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, at least.
Barnes
is this trouble? Not with Barnes. I think he's going to be there, Brownie.
Right in front of the hill. And thanks so much, Milo, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Milo.
And 68 years ago, I was in Tokyo Bay for the signing, so I remember my 18th birthday for more reasons than one.
Very memorable. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Milo.
Thanks, guys.
with the new Home Run Derby mobile game from MLB.com, available on iPhone and iPad. Download free today. Well, guys, the story yesterday was that the Astros were struggling with runners in scoring position. They were over 22 when Jason Castro came up to the plate in the bottom of the 8th. Jose Altuve on second. Castro said he wanted to hit something to the right side of the field. He did, and he drove in Altuve to put the Astros on top 1-0. If you check this out, the numbers from the Mariners series to today, world of difference there. Castro saying that he thought that would definitely help them get over the hump with that late inning rally that they had there. And he said there's also times when they know they're not coming up with the big hit, but they don't know the extent. That also helps them when they're a little bit clueless on the over 22. They don't like to hear those numbers, guys.
No, those are not pleasant numbers for those guys. They lead this one 5-2 as Barnes leads it off on third inning. Anthony Swarzak in relief of Andrew Albers delivers ball 1. Albers in 1 2/3 innings allowed the Astros 9 hits, 5 runs with no walks. He struck out 2. Swarzak got the final out, getting Crow. This one in the air, and the right fielder comes over, Mastriani, running out of room. Julia, you were talking about your conversation with Chris Carter before the game, and he has put that into use here today. Got an opposite field hit there in the second inning, that double. With 2 strikes in the count, and that kind of hitting makes people really appreciate what Chris Carter can do with his power, that he can hit the ball all around the field that way.
We did talk about how Carter's had success on the road as opposed to here, and he's really been wanting to do something here at Minute Maid Park and just having a little bit of trouble. He had no answers why. He has been reading some of the headlines, some of the articles. That does get him a little fired up, I've learned.
Well, that could be a good thing here in September. Barnes flares one to center field. Presley coming for it. Presley reaches down and snags it. 1 out.
Yeah, for Brandon Barnes, tough to take on the other side. Hit one of those little bloopers you're looking for it to drop, and a nice play by Presley in center. I guess when you dish it out, sometimes you have to eat a little of that stuff.
L.J. Ho's grounded out to shortstop in the first inning. The Astros got 3 runs on 5 hits in that frame. Looked like he pulled off that breaking ball a little bit. And that's strike 1. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. To hear from Milo about his memories. 2 balls and a strike. We're on his 86th birthday.
Yeah, kind of intriguing with all the great players he's covered that Stan the Man stands up as his #1 guy.
I thought he was going to say Hank Aaron.
I thought he might as well. Didn't know where Craig Biggio might fit in there. He's just seen too many of the great ones.
Those are tough choices.
Really says a lot about Sandy Koufax, though. Some people feel that maybe his career was too short to deserve Hall of Fame mention, but in his brief period of time, he seemed to stand out as the guy.
Liner goes into the seats. Still 2-2. Well, final regular season game today for the Oklahoma City Red Hawks, and they won it 2-1 on a walk-off. John Singleton doubled on a deep fly ball off the right field wall to score Ruben Sosa, and they won 2-1 over Memphis at Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark. To the left side, backhanded, Florimon. That's a good play. 2 outs.
Whether you're from Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, or New Mexico, CSN Houston covers the entire 5-state region, and we want your story ideas. Email us your ideas at regionalroundup@comcastsportsnet.com.
That was the 10th walk-off win of the season for the Red Hawks, and their 3rd walk-off win in the last 5 games. They're the champions of the PCL American Southern Division, and they finish 82-62, second highest win total in club history. Jonathan Villar doubled to left center in the second inning. Swarzak delivers, and there's strike one. And they'll be playing either Memphis or Omaha in the best of 5 finals starting Wednesday night in Oklahoma City there. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's in the American Northern Division. Either Memphis or Omaha will emerge the winner there. Ross Seaton threw 8 innings today. Fouled away and had 8 hits. Struck out 2. Jason Stoffel got the win, finishing 8-1. It's the first time for Oklahoma City in the playoffs since 2010. And we'll check on George Springer today. He did not play in that game, so he was rested. So we wound up with 37 home runs total between AA and AAA this year. A bunch of stolen bases. We think around 45, 47 steals. We'll check on that for you later. And a fantastic minor league season for George Springer. Now the playoffs begin Wednesday night for Oklahoma City.
I don't imagine it's been said many times about a guy who hit 37 home runs, but that's too bad that he didn't get to that 40 mark. He had a seemingly great shot with a week or so to play, and but what a great season.
That's a 2-out walk for Jonathan Villar. 45 steals total for Springer this season between AA and AAA time. He drove in more than 100. He scored more than 100. Played very well in center field.
So you have to come with a label these days. Who is Springer? Is he a speed guy, a power guy, a defensive player?
Let's take all of the above.
I think that would be a nice thing.
Robbie Grossman's 2 for 2, a double and a bunt single. He has scored 2 runs in this game. Greenville lost its first playoff game last night, 3-1. Lost to Kingsport, best of 3 series. Showing bunt. There's a strike 1. So they got the playoffs underway before anybody else in the Astros system started. 5 minor league playoff teams for the Astros. Villar is 11 for 16 in steals. And there could be another one. Tri-City, the Tri-City Valley Cats, are in first place by a half game with 3 to play. They could be playoff team number 6. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, the way this game has developed, with Jason Castro leaving with an injury in the second inning now, Jake Elmore becomes important as a catcher to hold out in case they need him. And that's what he brings as a luxury of somebody who can catch in a major league game. And the Astros have been going with 2 catchers almost all season until they found out a few weeks ago that Jake could catch and was a catcher in high school and has caught in an Astros game.
And caught well.
Yeah. So they have more depth on their roster just by virtue of knowing that alone. 2 balls and a strike.
When that third catcher is a guy who can do other things, then you really have a valuable player. This guy, Clark, looks like he's a genuine major league catcher. Can he swing the stick enough?
He's caught and thrown very well. Now it's 3 balls and a strike. And we're reading that Max Stassi, who's on the concussion disabled list, has been putting this time to use. He can't play, but he can observe, and he goes in the video room and does the study with Jason Castro and learns how to prepare and talk with the pitchers before a series for the opposing team. So he's picking up a lot. That's a walk, and Grossman is on for the 3rd straight time in this game. Back-to-back walks by Swarzak, and he gets a visit from Herman. But Ron Gardenhire is closing in on 1,000 major league wins as a manager. Still uncertain about whether he's coming back. He needs 9 more wins to get to 1,000. Charlie Manuel reached it this year just a couple weeks ago. Terry Francona reached it with Boston in 2011. 59 Major League managers have reached the 1,000 win plateau. If Gardenhire gets there, he'll be the 8th active manager to get to 1,000. But still not certain about next year. Altuve has a bunt single. He reached on that play involving VR at third base, and he scored 2 runs. Fouling that one for strike 1.
Gardenhire, all the more impressive in my estimation, working all these years with a low budget organization. Now they've done a great job. Don't mean to speak to that at all. They just have not been one of the higher paying franchises.
Well, in fact, Joe Mauer has a big percentage of their payroll right now on his contract. Now with Justin Morneau moving out of the picture, no balls, 2 strikes. Twins may be joined during this series by some September call-ups themselves, depending on what's going on with their Rochester club, whether they make the playoffs or not. Runner going to third, and he is in there. Head first, Jonathan VR steals it. A 2-out stolen base of third on the 0-2 pitch. That's his 12th steal of the year.
Just wound up close. You get that third baseman playing back. A lot of times you feel like you can take it as a freebie, but that glove comes down and makes it reasonably close.
That was very close. Trevor Plouffe almost got him.
Better know you have that bag stolen.
12 steals. He's been caught 5 times. The Astros have 6 steals in 7 tries against the Twins this year. Altuve fouls it. Well, that steal of third with 2 outs in the inning is certainly debated by a lot of baseball people.
What that can feel like as a stat builder, depending on situation in a ball game.
And that's the key, depending on the situation. And from third, he could score on a wild pitch, a pass ball, something of that variety, with 2 outs in the inning. Coming down the line pretty aggressively. Runner takes off for second. There's a ground ball hit through the right side. That makes it 6-2, scoring VR. An RBI single for Altuve. Robbie Grossman took off on the pitch. He gets to third. Altuve drives in his 43rd. Altuve's father has journeyed here from Venezuela to see Jose play in an Astros uniform for the first time, and he's got to be enjoying this.
Got a good pitch to hit. You could see Altuve seemed to be in a total sellout to go the other way. Maybe feeling like he had the big hole to shoot at. One of the numerous players that we've watched this year that looks like he can see a big hole on the field and shoot at it.
Now it's Cody Clark batting for the first time in this game. Cody is 0 for 10 as a major leaguer. Matt Dominguez on deck. Runner going and no throw as Altuve gets into second with a steal. His 31st of the year.
It's that steal of second base that's actually, with 2 outs, most times more valuable than the steal of third, because now the base hit plates a pair. Altuve glancing back the whole while.
Pitch to Clark was ball 1. Cody's hit a couple of balls right on the button. He's had some plays made against him in his bid for his first major league hit. The Toronto shortstop Jose Reyes made a really good catch on a line drive he hit, and then he hit the ball off the glove of the Toronto closer Casey Jansen. That ball was deflected out to second base, and they threw out Cody at first for the final out in a 2-1 loss with the bases loaded. So he's come close. That's in for a strike, and that makes it 2-1. Great opportunity for Cody Clark to come from Double-A Corpus Christi to join the Astros club here in September. He had been at Triple-A Oklahoma City earlier. He came up August 23rd. And Max Stassi went on the DL. Chases the breaking ball. That makes it a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Cody Clark has been in the Rangers organization. He was with the Braves for 1 year, the Royals for 5 years. Played an independent league, the Golden Baseball League, in 05. 11 minor league seasons for Cody Clark, and now a chance for his first major league hit. And he fouls it back. His batting average in the minors this year, combined between AA Corpus and AAA Oklahoma City, was .212. 32 hits and 151 at bats. He had a homer and drove in 13. Clark takes it, and that's strike 3 to end the Astros' third inning. They get one more run on one hit. They leave 2, and they lead it 6-2 through 3.
Night is back Saturday, September 14th. The Astros take on Mike Trout and the LA Angels of Anaheim, followed by an inspiring postgame concert featuring David Crowder. Your game ticket is also your ticket to the concert. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com for your tickets.
Fans watching Paul Clemens with a 6-2 lead. He's working the 4th inning now, and it's up and in. Ball 1 to Trevor Plouffe. Plouffe hit a home run in the 2nd inning, his 13th of the year. It's a right knee strain for Jason Castro that caused him to leave the game. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Hate to hear knee. Yeah, a little groin tweak or something like that would be bad enough, but never want to hear knee with Castro.
Well, he had reconstructive surgery on that right knee in 2011. 1 ball, 2 strikes for Plouffe. And he takes that one. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He's thinking of great Minnesota Twins players. Milo mentioned Tony Oliva. He thinks Tony should be in the Hall of Fame. Of course, Kirby Puckett, Bert Blyleven. Gary Gaetti was a fine third sacker for them for many years.
Gary's still managing the Skeeters, right?
Yes, and he was an Astros hitting coach, as people will recall.
Loved Gary as one of the coaches of the club.
Yeah, great guy, and he had a terrific career. Line drive into center field. Well, Plouffe is doing a good impersonation of Gaetti today. He's 2 for 2 with a homer and a single in this game. Twins would be pretty happy if Plouffe can do what Gaetti did for them for so many years. Now it's Herman. Herman singled to left center field in the second inning. Herman takes that pitch, and it's ball one. Herman's from Tomball, Texas. Went to Alvin Community College and the University of Miami. 6th round pick in 09. So it's come home time for him.
The Tomball area has started producing a lot of very good baseball players, much like Bel Air.
Yes. Some really good baseball academies out in that area, and high schools play a high brand, high caliber baseball in Tomball. Runner takes off for second. Here's a throw from Clark and the tag by Villar. Boy, he is something. He's thrown out 5 of 6 now. Guns down Plouffe.
He does it so easily too. He doesn't have that throw that's looking like a pitcher from behind the plate just hanging out the heat. He just kind of puts it up right out over the bag or just on that first base side. Nice quick release. Real solid fundamentals.
Fly ball to left field. Chases Grossman back at the edge of the wall. Right there for out number 2 on Herman's drive. Yeah, Clark gets that ball out of his mitt in a hurry, doesn't he? He just lets it fly. And we've seen him throw to second while the infielders are on the move. He just hangs it out there for them without a real infielder as a target there.
It's real easy as a catcher to rush and try to be quick and make a poor throw a lot of the time, but on all pitches, Clark with the fundamentals so good that he makes a good throw, and that's one of the biggest keys. Put it in a position where the infielder can handle it.
Colabello looks at ball one. He bounced into a double play earlier. Colabello began his career in the Detroit organization in 06. Then he played independent ball from 05 through 2011. Hits this one toward right field, and that backs up Crow. Crow all the way back, and that one hits the bullpen. Impressive power from Colabello. He hits home run number 5. And it's a 6-3 ball game now as Colabello drives in his 9th.
That is impressive power, but again, another long ball allowed by Paul Clemens. It is simply an issue, and until Paul is able to get himself down a little more consistently in the strike zone and more on the corners as he talked about, it is going to continue to be an issue.
2 long balls for the Twins today. They trail by 3, and it's Cleet Thomas next. Thomas hit a fly ball to center earlier. Ball one, former Detroit Tiger.
It's very well done and tough on a pitch toward the outside edge to drive it to right center field like this.
One bounces to Thomas. It's 2 balls, no strikes. So Clemens with the 15 home runs surrendered this year in 56 innings has had his difficult moments. That's hit to center field. Barnes coming in, and that loops in for a single in front of him, and now here's a shot at second base, but the throw is wide and it's not caught. Oh, Thomas moves on into second base. Barnes got there on that looping single, and then his throw drifted away from Altuve. So Thomas took advantage of that opportunity to move into second base. A single and an error on Barnes, his 3rd. Like he may have rushed that throw.
I don't know that you can award an error on the throw on this play. There has to be something that happens before the throw, because you can't make the assumption that he's going to throw a guy out. So as the ball drops and then he doesn't pick it up, that's where, if I were going to award an error, it would be placed.
Have to agree, and maybe it was just announced wrong. Maybe the real decision was that he didn't field it cleanly and not on the throw. It's just a single and E8 up on the scoreboard here, so we'll leave it at that. Florimone takes strike one. I have to agree with you. It shouldn't be an error on that throw.
No, you can't do that.
And boy, these days, you know, they classify what type of error it was.
Yeah. Right there would be your error. Looked like Brennan got simply a little casual. And can't say that Thomas wasn't already coming, but that certainly kept him coming.
It's 2 balls and a strike. That's somewhat of a risk for the base runner there because it's not a long throw at all. But it worked out for Thomas. And he did force a mistake. Foul back, and it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Paul Clemens in this ballpark is 1-2 with a 7.08 ERA. Florimone, an attractive player defensively for the Twins. He has struck out 94 times this year. And that one's fouled away. Yankees beat the White Sox, or lead the White Sox rather, 1-0 in the bottom of the third at Yankee Stadium today. Yankees are 72 and 64. Still in the wild card race. They're 9 games behind Boston, though, in 4th place in the AL East. It's a liner into center field. Thomas around third, coming home to make it 6-4 on the RBI single by Florimone. So Thomas getting to second proved to be a key, and the Twins now are coming back to a 2-run deficit. Florimone getting his 38th run batted in. Caught stealing earlier on Plouffe is a major factor for Bo Porter's club in this inning.
2 of the ball clubs in the American League that are among the bottom feeders in terms of hitting with runners in scoring position and just simply in terms of runs scored. Having a field day here early this afternoon.
Lucas Harrell begins to warm up for Houston. And now time is called. Doug Brocail coming out. The Astros took a 3-0 lead in the first, and then Paul Clemens had a 1-2-3 first inning. So when he went back out for the second, that was his advantage. He gave up a homer there to Trevor Plouffe. They scored twice more to make it 5-1 Houston after 2. And then in the third inning, he gave up an RBI double to Mastriani and a couple of walks. Here in the fourth, a homer, 3 singles, and now it's a 6-4 ball game with Brocail going out. 73 pitches for Clemens. Clemens went back down and stretched out his arm at AAA Oklahoma City. And as he returned with that first start in Chicago last time out, he threw 78 pitches. And that got him through 6 innings. He gave up just 4 hits and 1 run with 2 walks. Now he has the runner at first, Florimone, and it's Presley batting. Presley fouled out, and he walked and scored. That's low for ball 1. In that Yankee game, Phil Hughes started for New York. He was gone after an inning and a third. Didn't give up a run through 20 pitches. Jose Quintana started for Chicago. He was gone after 1 inning. Maybe they were in a rain delay. It must have been. 2 balls, no strikes. The game was delayed 1 hour 53 minutes by rain in the top of the second, so that put both the starters out of the game. Well, the Yankee lineup looks quite different, Ash, from that of a month ago. Jeter's at shortstop, A-Rod at third, Soriano in left field, Granderson in right, Mark Reynolds at first.
They have beefed up a bit, but they're beefing up with some guys a little on the backside of great careers.
Runner takes off for second. Here's the throw from Clark. It's high and late, and there's a steal by Florimone. That's his 13th. And now the Twins are doing some running.
Another tough pitch on which to throw for Clark, and yet he does again a very fine job, just no shot.
Well, the Twins are pressing the matter, and the count's 3-0 on Presley.
They are not to be dissuaded despite Clark's proficiency throwing out runners.
That's ball 4 now. Walk number 3 for Paul Clemens. And Mastriani will be next. And Bo Porter's coming out. Now, Lucas Harrell has been warming up. And Clemens really faltering here in this inning. Bullpen coach Dennis Martinez out with Harrell, who's going to be called into this game with the potential tying run at first base right now. It's 6-4. Houston back in a moment.
For the Twins, and time for our AT&T tweet of the game at Crawfish Boxes tweets. Jose Martinez had a great night at the plate. Game-tying home run and walk-off hit for the Red Hawks. I'd say that's a pretty good night. He played hero twice in that game, the walk-off in the bottom of the 11th to beat Memphis. And guys, Brownie mentioned this earlier, actually, OKC beat Memphis in walk-off fashion again today. It was John Singleton with a walk-off double. And with that, the Red Hawks knock off Memphis. They knock them out of playoff contention. Omaha Storm Chasers won their game today, so they will fly to Oklahoma City and face the Red Hawks in the first round. That's a 5-game series area. Looking now at the minor league teams for the Astros, it is postseason time, guys. Check out this schedule. Tri-City still in a tight race as they try to make their way into the postseason.
But Julia, the real question is regarding those walk-off heroes, can John Singleton dance like Jose Martinez?
That was impressive stuff by Martinez.
Maybe he could join you and Kevin. Never mind. Here's Lucas Harrell coming in 9 relief appearances. He's 1-4 with a 6.95 ERA. Facing Mastriani with 2 men on. And throwing ball 1.
Why has Lucas Harrell gone from last year 11-11 for the club and obviously pitched well to a guy that is struggling this year, so much of the year, with finding that strike zone?
It's a shot backhanded. Smooth play by Dominguez to end the inning. We'll get to an answer a little bit later on that one. It's 6-4 Astros.
November 13th is the next big and bright Friday night. Don't forget to stick around after the game. That's the Astros and Angels that night. Well, the best fireworks show in town, presented by Marathon Oil Corp. Featuring music from the hit TV show Glee. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com for your tickets.
Those are very enjoyable fireworks shows. We look forward to that next one. Now Anthony Swarzak in the 6-4 ball game faces Matt Dominguez. There's strike one, and Domingo is 0 for 2 in this game. 6-10-1 for Houston, 4-7-0 for Minnesota. Twins have left 4. The Astros have stranded 6. This freewheeling game in the 4th. Breaking pitch goes as ball 1. 77 pitches for Paul Clemens, 42 of them strikes in 3 2/3 innings, allowing the Twins 7 hits, 4 runs, walking 3 with no strikeouts. Harrell got a big out there, getting Mastriani on the ground ball to Dominguez with 2 men on to end the top of the inning. That's hit to right field again. Mastriani puts it away. We've been seeing more and more of that from Matt. Like Chris Carter's day so far.
2 for 2 on his day. That's the obvious with the stats as he drills his first one into left center field, driving in a run. In the second inning, he'll go the other way into right center field, picking up another. Chris Carter looking like he enjoys hitting at Minute Maid Park. If he does, it's news.
Trying to make it 3 for 3. Spun that one out of play. There's strike one. The Braves are leading the Mets 10-5. They're in the top of the 7th in Atlanta. Maholm started for the Braves. Daisuke Matsuzaka was the starter for the Mets. That did not go well. 3 innings, 6 earned runs. Strike makes it 0-2. Freddie Freeman hit his 18th homer. That came off Matsuzaka. That's lined and caught by Florimon. That ball was hammered. Round number 2.
That was pure skull piece right there.
Boy. Let's see what we have here. The NL East finding the Braves way out in front. Pirates a half game up on the Cardinals. The Reds are 3 back in the NL Central. Dodgers an 11.5 game pad over Arizona in the NL West. Cardinals Reds tied for the wild card. And really, other than that NL Central, not much going on as far as the race.
Those Reds are trying to hang in, aren't they?
They're trying to hang in. They lost a couple games in Colorado. Trevor Crow's the batter. He's 1 for 2 with an RBI. And this looping line drive is a diving play. Mastriani got it in right field. It looked like a hit, but he deprived Trevor Crow. And it's a 1-2-3-4 for Swarzak, taking only 7 pitches. After 4, the Astros lead at 6-4. On Labor Day at Minute Maid Park, and Lucas Harrell is on the mound after getting out of that fourth inning jam. Came in with runners at first and second and 2 outs and got Mastriani. Now he faces Dozier. Dozier looks at the first pitch and there's ball 1. So you were posing the question when Lucas Harrell was on the mound before he got that final out of the fourth inning about the difference between last season and this. There's a deep drive to left field. Grossman now looking up, and that's an example of what's been going on, unfortunately, this year for Lucas Harrell. Dozier hits his 16th. That gives him 58 runs batted in. Lucas has just not had the good sink that he had last year.
18th home run allowed by Lucas Harrell in under 135 innings to this point. He's given up 150 plus hits already. And a lot of that, or if not all of it, comes from that lack of command. A guy that was so successful with the sinker last year, had a nice spring this year, put on a legitimate battle to be the opening day pitcher, and since then, it just hasn't worked out. And I have no answers, but you can look at the numbers and probably drop all of the numbers that are troublesome on that issue about lack of command.
Well, he's throwing fewer first pitch strikes than other pitchers in the American League. Strike 1 to Willingham this time, but he was behind Dozier 1-0. Now it's a 1-1 count for Willingham. And Harrell has been victimized by a lot of walks. Curveballs in the dirt, and it's 2-1. It seemed that last year, quite often after he would walk a hitter, he would follow that up with a double play ball. It's 3 balls, 1 strike. Umpire at first, Sam Holbrook.
In that dubious column of walks allowed by pitchers, Lucas Harrell is the leader on the dubious side again. 78 walks now allowed.
And there's another. Number 4 of the game for Astros pitching. Trevor Plouffe is 2 for 2, a homer and a single. This is the 10th relief appearance for Lucas Harrell this year. Last time out in Chicago, he gave up 3 hits and 5 runs in 2 innings to take the loss. Plouffe looks at ball 1. Came in with the score tied 1-1 in the 7th inning. Gave up a 3-run homer to Avisail Garcia. And he lost his previous outing. That was a start at Texas, August 19th. Hot shot on through into center field. And Plouffe gets his 3rd hit of the day. So the Twins have come storming back after trailing 5-1. They're down 6-5. They've put the first man circling the bases on a homer, and then the second one on a walk, and then the third gets on a single.
Twins are not acting like a team who believes this game had been iced away on the other side.
They're pressing to grab the lead as Herman comes up. Herman has a single and a fly ball to left field. Harrell continues to be one of the top ground ball pitchers in the American League. He's 7th with a 1.90 ground ball to fly ball ratio. He could use a grounder right here, right at somebody. Gets strike 1 on Herman. Tigers are leading the Red Sox 3-0 at Boston in the bottom of the 8th inning. Doug Fister went 7 shutout frames for Detroit. Phil Koch got an out. Now Bruce Rondon's in the game. In the dirt for a ball that makes it 1-1. Miguel Cabrera not in the action again for Detroit today. John Lackey started for Boston. He gave up 3 runs in 7 1/3. 2 balls and a strike. The Red Sox have built a little pad though now in the AL East. 1 loss is not going to bring them down. They're 5.5 in front of Tampa Bay. The Rays have lost 4 in a row as the Red Sox have won 3 straight. Baltimore trails by 8.5. That's a liner over shortstop into left center field. Willingham around third, coming to the plate with a tying run. And he'll stop. And now VR's got him hung up. He's running right at him, throwing to the plate. Clark with a tag. He knocked him over, and he got him out. And now, two runners close together. Clark is running right at him. He throws to third. Dominguez has a rundown going on Plouffe. And both runners are at second. He tags both of them and gets it out that way. What an unusual way to turn two. Crazy play. Willingham got hung up halfway between third and home.
I was afraid for a moment that Cody Clark was going to continue his pursuit of the backside runner heading back toward first base. But then he fired toward third base alertly. At that point, when they had the two runners at second base, let's see who gets tagged first, because this becomes intriguing. A lot of times you will find a way to get a double play on the tag, as Willingham just not running well and unable to continue toward the plate in his estimation. They get that out, and a nice play by Cody Clark. And at this point, Cody gets into the track meet a little bit and starts to head toward the backside runner momentarily, then gets this one. Now let's see who gets tagged first. Second base is owned by the runner coming back to the bag. You want to tag that guy first, Plouffe, because he may walk off. It's his bag. If you can do that while then tagging the second runner, you get that second runner out and the first guy walks off and you tag him, and that's a very creative way to get yourself two outs on that side of things.
Could have been a triple play.
How about that? Yeah, tag that guy who owns the bag, and that's the lead runner.
So it's Plouffe on at second, and now the pitch is strike one to Colabello. Colabello hit a long home run into the right center field bullpen back in the fourth inning. So it's still somehow 6-5. The hit by Herman was the 10th hit of the game for the Twins.
Was that officially the longest play we've seen all year?
I think it was very slow developing. And it went 8-6 to 2-5. Willingham was tagged out of the plate. And then what presence for Clark, who was knocked over by Willingham, to get up, to go up over the mound. And we've seen a catcher trip over that mound. I think it was Humberto Quintero a few years ago on a rundown play, trying to run right at the base runner, and he didn't do that, and he got the out. What a weird double play.
I think that would have been a very creative triple play had they managed to get it.
Well, you know, when we were talking about Lucas Harrell needing a double play ball, that wasn't really the way we had it drawn up.
Well, I think you were thinking more of the ground ball stodgy type, huh?
This was a lot more fun. In there. Whoa! It looked like it was good, but Joe West hit his ball too.
Let's see how this play sets up. I don't anticipate double play at that point. However, this happens, and then there we go. Now it's starting to come together. Tag that lead guy right. I couldn't tell, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Maybe he did tag Plouffe first. If you get Plouffe to walk off, that's when you work the magic.
Plouffe didn't walk off though.
No.
So there's Plouffe. Herman, the back runner, was out on the play. The pitch is outside for a ball. 3-2. We've got a second life. Although it's always alarming to see a teammate on the base when you're going back to that same base. Didn't get a look at Joe Vavra, the third base coach, to see as far as Willingham. Willingham was sent, from what we're being told. And then he just stopped.
What a great story on the hitter Chris Colabello, who spent 7 seasons playing independent baseball. That's just phenomenal. And now winding up playing in the big leagues and has a home run here this afternoon.
It is. Fantastic story. Drove in 98 runs in New Britain in Double-A last year for the Twins. Swing and a miss. And a strikeout. Well, just a routine double play ball and strikeout to get out of a jam. And it's 1 run for the Twins, and it's 6-5 Astros. your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. Warm, steamy day outside, inside with the air conditioning keeping everybody comfortable. It's the Astros 6, the Twins 5. A crazy, wacky Labor Day game. All kinds of stuff going on in the base paths. And we're only in the 5th inning, Ash.
I noticed that. You did not run that one by me, Bronny. No. We almost had ourselves a very cute triple play. I mean, it could have gotten to that.
Brendan Barnes leads it off in the home 5th inning. And takes ball 1. He's 0 for 2 in this game. Corpus Christi playing one remaining regular season game. First playoff game will be Wednesday in Corpus Christi. Fouled away. And San Antonio will be the opponent for the Hooks. They're playing San Antonio in this final game today or tonight to determine who has the best record in the second half, and so that would give the winner of today's game the home field advantage if it goes to 5 games. There's a fly ball and a hit into left center field for Barnes. Barnes gets hit number 11 for the Astros. LJ Hose will follow. He's grounded twice to shortstop. So if the Hooks win that game tonight from San Antonio, they'll get that game 5 at home if it goes to 5. Lancaster is playing one remaining game in the regular season, getting ready for the playoffs starting Saturday in Lancaster. Quad City, 1 game remaining. First playoff game will be Wednesday in Quad Cities. That's a best-of-3 series against Cedar Rapids. That's ball 1 to LJ Hose with Jonathan Villar on deck. Greenville lost game 1 of its semifinal series last night. There's Josh Fields in the bullpen for Houston. Greenville losing 3-1 to Kingsport. Greenville Astros are playing at Kingsport tonight in game 2, and they need a win to stay alive. In for a strike. That makes him 1-1 as Swarzak delivers. In relief of Andrew Albert. Have a beautiful ballpark, don't they, Ash?
Gorgeous place. Absolutely is. Target Field in Minnesota. In Minneapolis, to be specific.
Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, the headquarters of the Target Corporation. 2-1. So you told us a little bit about that when you were up there with Jeff Blum doing those 3 games. People ask us all the time, hey, where would you recommend traveling to if you want to follow the Astros on the road? Would that be top choices?
Yeah, it would be. It's really a place that I don't think a lot of people hear about. In terms of the media, no place treats you better. It's a wonderful ballpark. The coloring is a lot like the wall up above in left field here at Minute Maid Park. And yeah, they really did a nice job throwing it together.
Josh Reneke's warming up with the Twins bullpen. 49 pitches for the reliever Swarzak. In the air and out of play for a 2-ball 2-strike count to LJ Hose. Wound up right below us in club level.
With any effort on our parts there, I think we should have made that play.
Well, it is September.
Well, nobody would have thought much of it in September. Had it been a couple of days ago in August, it would have been a great play.
Yeah.
But in September, you have to take into effect that a lot of young players are up now.
Got to save yourself for spring training, Ash.
That'd be true.
Struck him out. Second strikeout for Swarzak. And number 4 for Twins pitching. Now it'll be Jonathan Villar. Villar has a double and a walk. Also a stolen base and a run scored. He's had a very active day. Third straight game Miguel Cabrera has sat out for Detroit. Yankees now lead 5-0 in the bottom of the 4th over the White Sox. Villar showing bunt. Looks at a strike. Pirates 5, Brewers 1, top of the 7th in Milwaukee. Neil Walker hit home run number 10. Well, PNC Park has been rocking with that Pirate club. Moving into a first place tie. They were in first place alone for a game, but then the Cardinals beat them to create a tie at 79-57. Chopped off the plate, and that will dribble foul. No balls, 2 strikes. Barnes heads back for first.
Remember when Jonathan VR first came up and he was just tearing it up and stealing home plate, and we started petitioning the fans to let us know what kind of a nickname we wanted to drop on Jonathan. I think the one that we wound up liking the most, at least some of us, was V6.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if that little tag might attach itself at some point.
Well, you don't want E6 if you're
no,
shortstop.
E6 is not a good one.
That was Jose Offerman's nickname, wasn't it?
I used to drive my car around back in my playing days with a license plate E2 on it.
You're kidding.
No, that was it.
Why?
You know, the state sent it to me, and I figured I might as well go ahead and use it.
Struck him out looking. That's out number 2. Well, you remember Jose Offerman used to make about 35, 36 errors in a season. And one time there was a newspaper article about him, and he had made, I don't know, 3 errors in a game or something like that. And they spelled his name Offerer. Just nasty stuff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's just being me.
It is.
But V6, I'm hoping at some point it catches on. If it does, it'll mean that Jonathan VR has really turned into quite a player.
Strike to Robbie Grossman. Robbie's been on all 3 times with 2 hits and a walk. He has some company there at the top of the order. Grossman and Altuve combined 4 for 5, 4 runs, 1 walk, 1 steal. As Altuve moves back to the number 2 spot. He has a couple of hits and an RBI in this game. These 2 clubs have combined for 21 hits so far. No balls and 2 strikes. Their series in Minnesota was rather benign as far as offense. Minnesota scoring 13 runs in 3 games. Houston had 9 runs in 3 games. Both these teams are averaging 3.9 runs per game for the season coming into this one.
Not much of a spread in those run totals that you talk about for a series that saw the Twins sweep 3-game set.
You're right. In tight, and it's 1-2. In that Pirate Brewer game, it's 5-1 now in the bottom of the 7th inning. Pittsburgh leading. Charlie Morton is on the mound for Pittsburgh. Tyler Thornburg got the start for Milwaukee. Justin Morneau's playing first base today. The big trade brought him to the Pirates from the Twins. Runner takes off. Here's the throw and a slide by Barnes, and they got him to end the Astros 5th inning. And it's a caught stealing to end the frame and keep the Astros in the lead 6-5.
The Chevy Hometown Kids every Saturday morning at 9:30 on CSN. Chevy Hometown Kids, where it's not about the score, but the experience.
Thanks, Julia. Pitcher number 3 comes in the game for Houston. He is the rookie right-hander Josh Fields, a Rule 5 draft choice from the Boston Red Sox over the winter. And he comes in with a 1-run lead. In 32 Major League games, he's 1-3 with a 6.18 ERA and a couple of saves.
Left-handers enjoying things at 302. The right-handers not having much of a good time at 222. 7 dingers allowed. 7 home runs in 27 innings. Certainly something that Josh would like to work on.
The way the Twins have been bombing away, they've hit 3 homers in the 2nd, 4th, and 5th innings. He would love to keep that from continuing, and Thomas will be leading it off here in the 6th inning. We talked about the Rule 5 acquisition of Josh Fields. This is something the Astros have utilized here the last few years to help stock their roster. There's ball 1 to Thomas. Thomas singled and scored in the 4th inning after advancing on an error. Minnesota Twins have used that same technique to try to pick up a player from another roster in the winter Rule 5 draft. Now the Astros are kind of concerned that maybe other teams might be looking for their young talent in the Rule 5 draft this winter, so it's going to be a challenge to protect the right people who have to be protected on that 40-man roster and prevent them from going to other clubs via the Rule 5 this winter. 2 balls and a strike.
Which can be a real challenge when you've got a minor league system that's starting to load up and you've got valuable and talented players.
Some players do not have to be protected on that Rule 5. If they're players who have not been in the organization or professional baseball very long, they are not required to be protected from that Rule 5 draft, and they are not eligible to be taken by other teams. 3 balls and a strike to Thomas with Florimon on deck. And that is ball 4, leadoff walk to Thomas. So let's review the situation here. Players who were signed when they were 19 and have played for 4 years are eligible, as are players who were signed at 18 and have played 5 years for that Rule 5 draft. So
it costs the team out there $50 grand to pick up a player. Kind of a small amount in today's world, and then if they don't keep that guy on the 25-man roster, he can be bought back for 25 grand. So it's kind of the inner workings that go on, and you see it every spring.
Popped up behind third base for Jonathan Villar over to foul territory. He handles that one for out number 1. One of the notable Rule 5 draft picks, Roberto Clemente. We talked about him earlier.
How's that possible?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So the Astros selected Reiner Cruz in 2011, Josh Fields and Nate Fryman in 2012. Fryman then got away to Oakland. Here you see Clemente, Dan Uggla. Johan Santana was taken from the Astros when he was not protected. Josh Hamilton and Joaquin Soria, some very good players.
Trying to remember the Bobby Abreu situation. Was Bobby traded or was he Rule 5?
That was the expansion draft.
That was expansion, that's right. Yeah, that was a rough one that got away.
Alex Presley looks at ball 1. Well, at the time the Astros had Richard Hidalgo, and they protected him but not Bobby Abreu.
Yeah, they also protected Derek Bell, and there was a lot of commentary about that following that situation.
That's true.
It's tough. It's tough trying to figure out who's going to be the long-term player.
Exactly. Difficult choices have to be made. Altuve shovels. There's VR and out at first. 4-6-3 double play. And that ends the top of the 6th inning with no runs, no hits, and nobody left. 6-5 Astros. Ryan. Arthur has presented him with a cake. There's Milo's son Mark. Looks like David Barron is over there from the Houston Chronicle alongside Robert Ford, Steve Sparks. And an 86th birthday for Milo Hamilton. Presentation of the cake. Bottom of the 6th inning. It's 6-5. The Astros have out hit the Twins 11-10. Robbie Grossman is the batter. He was at the plate when Brandon Barnes was thrown out trying to steal. Bangs that one off his right foot for strike one. Robbie's been on all 3 times with 2 hits and a walk. He has scored 2 runs. The Royals lead the Seattle Mariners 3-1 in Kansas City against King Felix. Felix Hernandez. They are in the top of the 7th now in Kansas City. Mariners winning 3 of 4 here in the previous series. Grossman takes, and there's a ball to Robbie for a 1-1 count. Anthony Swarzak stretching it out with the long relief appearance here. He came in the 2nd inning. He's pitched 3 1/3 so far. He deals a strike. That makes it 1-2. He's at 61 pitches in relief. Valuable guy to have. Upstairs for a ball that evens the count at 2-2. The longest relief outing was by the lefty Hernandez. That was way back on the 12th of April against the New York Mets. He could be their starter tomorrow night. Twins have not yet named that starter, but Pedro Hernandez is a guess at this point. Well, this is a play at first base now, and he is out. That ball wound up being a fair ball. Robbie Grossman still looking around, uncertain of what happened. So is Herman, the catcher.
Herman is kind of using the visual excuse that he never saw the ball. Let's see what happens here. Does the ball come off the body of Robbie Grossman? And I think he may be thinking so. As the ball's laying out in front there, it might have landed foul. That doesn't matter. What matters is where it winds up, provided it didn't hit the body of Grossman. But it looks like it may have hit that left shoulder.
Yeah. It looked like it hit his body, and Joe West did not see that.
Joe just stood there looking at the baseball as if to say, well, I'm waiting for somebody to do something.
Bull Porter's coming out.
Joe's saying no, it didn't hit anything such as the body of Grossman, but it did.
Joe, I think, just said it did not hit him. Let's look at the left leg first.
Yeah, sure does. Hit that left ankle, then come up and hit the left shoulder. So if the argument was no, it didn't hit the body once, you would be right. But at this point, Robbie Grossman justifiably figured it was a foul ball.
Now a single through the middle for Jose Altuve gives him another 3-hit game. Month of September agreeing with Jose Altuve with back-to-back 3-hit efforts. Swarzak got an out there on Grossman on what should have been a foul ball, it appeared. Ball had some crazy spin coming off Grossman's body.
Ground ball hit by Altuve. Swarzak considered momentarily reaching with the right hand and then pulled back.
Here's Cody Clark now with Josh Renicky warming up still for Minnesota. Altuve draws the throw. Altuve stole second in the 3rd inning. That was his 31st stolen base of the year. Cody Clark came in for the injured Jason Castro, who left with a right knee strain. After his RBI single in the 2nd, Clark came in to pinch run for him. Then Cody struck out looking in the 3rd. And Altuve draws another throw. That's 12 hits now for the Astros in this game. 10 for the Twins. And a foul ball. We go to Julia Morales.
Hey, Brownie, you mentioned Cody Clark still looking for that first major league hit. Well, something I found, it's a little humorous the other day. Bo Porter said that after he's been, his second time to be robbed of a hit by a really good shortstop at this level, he went to Porter and said, "Are all the defenders good here?" And Porter responded, "Well, they usually put their best defender at short. You might want to try hitting it somewhere else."
Okay, that's good advice. Willie Keeler would offer some sage advice. Hit them where they ain't.
And Matt Dominguez says, "Well, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
What do you mean you always put the best at short?"
Exactly.
Brandon Barnes might have chimed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some pretty good defensive players at this level.
That's one big difference between Major League and minor league baseball, the level of defensive play.
I think it's a huge difference in what Major League Baseball is today versus what it was maybe back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, an era that a lot of people maybe thought was the golden era of the game.
Right. Now, speedier players can get to more balls. Strong arms for throws. No balls, 2 strikes now. As Cody Clark, 0 for 11 as a major leaguer, tries to get aboard here and keep it going for Matt Dominguez. Altuve draws another throw.
Today's gloves not also able to be used as some sort of farm implement as they might have been used in those days.
Struck him out. That's out number 2.
At least not intended for such.
It's 4 strikeouts for Swarzak. Players used to leave their gloves on the field when they ran off to bat in the next half inning. Leave them out there in the outfield grass.
Why did they change that? I can't imagine.
Somebody may have tripped over 1 or 2 along the way. Dominguez is 0 for 3. He's hit 2 fly balls to right field, and he struck out.
Look at that guy out there stepping all over my glove.
Baseball used to be quite something back in the early days. The outfield grass would be very long, and players would occasionally plant baseballs in certain areas of the outfield grass. And there was one umpire back in the early days, so if a ball was hit to right center field, the center fielder would just take about 8 steps and pick up a ball that he had planted in the grass and throw that one in rather than chasing the batted ball sometimes if the umpire wasn't watching. Umpire couldn't watch everything.
You would think television replay would have come in. Oh, that's right. They did that.
No. And then there were times when a third baseman on a sacrifice fly attempt would just grab the runner at third by the belt and not let him run.
It was a much more creative day, wasn't it?
Yeah. 0-2. Well, with only one umpire, guys would try to cut across the infield, as I believe Larry Walker did when he started playing professional baseball. He didn't really know all the rules.
Larry tried that stunt, huh?
Try to go directly from first to third without passing second or passing go or paying $200.
I thought that was only Stephen Wright who proposed that as a possibility.
Well, he did before he started throwing knuckleballs.
Not that Stephen Wright.
Oh, okay.
That's Stephen Wright, though. What a knuckleball he was flipping up there.
Boston Red Sox right-hander who pitched here earlier this year. And his catcher had 4 pass balls in the first inning.
Did he have a catcher that day?
Well, there was somebody back there.
There was some guy in foul territory. You can play anywhere you want in foul territory. Usually we would like you to play right here, but...
That's it for strike 3, and that's 5 strikeouts for Swarzak. He has really stretched it out in relief today, and it's 6-5 Astros.
Minnesota. It's time for our progressive fan of the game, and I have Ethan with me, who's 4 years old. He's got his Astros shirt on, but a Minnesota hat. I know there's a reason, but I do want to ask you who your favorite Astros player is. Do you remember?
Altuve.
He was so talkative just before this. And your favorite Twins player?
Joe Mauer.
That's Joe Mauer. These are both good selections. Mom, I want to ask you real quick, why the confused outfit for the child here?
Confused outfit. I grew up in Minnesota, and we live in the Woodlands, so we are Astros fans and Minnesota fans. So.
Fair enough. All right, Ethan, here you go. Brownie?
It's a very conflicted family. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. No, they're having a great time today. 1 ball, 1 strike to Mastriani. He has an RBI double in 3 trips.
How about Julia, that reporter who asks all the tough questions?
Yep.
Apparently.
Julia will be appearing on 60 Minutes. It's 2 balls and a strike.
Before each answer, we will hear
Pitch is up, and it's a 3 ball, 1 strike count to Mastriani. The Indians have lost right-hander Justin Masterson, who has left early in their ball game with the Orioles with an injury. He went 1 inning and came out with a leg injury. Bud Norris is pitching for Baltimore. It's 3 balls, 2 strikes, and Baltimore got a lead with a 2nd inning run. It's 1-0 as Norris works the bottom of the 2nd. Orioles are trying to go 10 games over 500. Foul back, and it's still 3-2 for Josh Fields. Lucas Harrell went 1 1/3 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 run with 1 walk and 1 strikeout. He was involved in that wacky 5th inning. Dozier homered, Willingham walked, Plouffe singled, and Herman singled into a double play. Swing and a miss.
Say what?
He struck him out. Strikeout number 1. Well, wouldn't that be correct? He singled into a double play.
That is a fact.
14,287 the paid attendance today on Labor Day at Minute Maid Park. Brian Dozier has a walk and a homer today. Showing Bud, he looks at ball 1.
Does that cost you on your final stats when you obviously you're going to get the base hit, that'll help the batting average, but do you actually get a double play in that column?
No, you don't.
That's a crying shame.
You really wanted that, didn't you? Popped up, Chris Carter coming over. And it's 2 outs.
Back by popular demand, Dollar Dog Night returns Friday, September 13th. Enjoy $1 hot dogs all game long, presented by HEB. First pitch against the Angels is at 7:10. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com for your tickets.
These folks are getting a jump on that.
There they are.
2 outs, and it's Josh Willingham. Love the glasses, too.
It's a good look for slamming a dog.
Willingham's 0 for 2 with a walk. There's ball 1. The Reds beat the Cardinals 7-2 in Cincinnati. To notch a big win for Dusty Baker. They got a complete game from Matt Latos. It was a 4-hitter, and Latos is now 14-5. He needed only 100 pitches to stop the hard-hitting Cardinals. He has a 2.98 ERA. 2 balls, no strikes. Adam Wainwright was hit hard by the Reds. 6 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs. Shin-Soo Choo hit his 19th homer off Wainwright. That was a 2-run shot. Joey Votto is 21st. Big cut by Willingham for a strike. So Dusty Baker's club wins a very important one. The Reds had fallen 3.5 back of both Pittsburgh and St. Louis. The Reds are now 42-23 in their home ballpark. It's 2-2 now. That ought to be an encouraging development for the patrons of Porkopolis.
Adam Wainwright's been having a struggle here in recent games. Last 2 starts, 15 earned runs in that span. He could be an impactor on the negative side for the Cards trying to get into the postseason.
Yeah, the Reds hit him hard in both those games. 3 balls and 2 strikes. That's been an interesting rivalry down through the years. Second start in a row. Wainwright has been roughed up by the Reds.
ERA has jumped by a half a run in those last 2 starts.
Big cut by Willingham. He's down on strikes. That's a 1-2-3 7th for Fields. And it's still 6-5 Astros.
Bottom of the 7th inning. Astros Trivia is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. In 1991, the Twins won Game 7 of the World Series. In the 10th inning, 1-0 was the final. Who starred, or rather who started for the Twins, and how many innings did he pitch? I'm going to go with Jack Morris.
I'll go with Jack. And the story that's been told down through the years, and we did not ask him about it when he was here. He's now a Toronto radio broadcaster. Was that he came in after the 9th. Tom Kelly had this custom when he was managing the Twins of saying to the players on the bench, "Okay, fellas, Jack's finished." Nice round of applause for him. Jack said, "Jack's not finished."
I don't doubt that one bit. You know, there are some cases where I would maybe give pause to the story. With Jack Morris, I don't doubt that a bit.
Josh Rennicke's 2-1. His ERA 3.08. Worked 52 2/3 innings. And he takes over now after a great relief job by Anthony Swarzak. 4 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run allowed. He walked 2 and he fanned 5. Chris Carter looks at ball 1. Carter is 2 for 3, lined out to shortstop in the 4th inning, so he's drilled the ball 3 times in this game. That was terrific relief work by Swarzak. He applied a tourniquet. The Astros really were whacking the ball around until he came in. 2 balls, no strikes. He stopped the bleeding very capably. 72 pitches for Swarzak in relief. In the air, and the first baseman comes over, Colabello, and the catcher can't find it. Herman now comes back, and Herman is able to regroup and make that play. 1 out.
Trevor Crowe just recalled by the ball club and got a start yesterday, obviously today, but swing the bat well. This ball reminiscent of a home run he hit in his first start for the club earlier in the year. Swinging it from the right side as he fights it into right field. Trevor Crowe trying to make an impact as he comes back.
Well, he's 29 years old, and he frankly said he would rather be here in the majors than with Oklahoma City for the playoffs right now. He talked about his age, his level of experience, how it's an important time for him, and we get it. Groh is 1 for 3 in RBI. Have to agree with him on all those fronts, Ash. And as players get older, they've been around the game more. They tend to become more knowledgeable, more analytical about the way management views players. And I would have to say he would be right on in his evaluation, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for me, absolutely. I can see guys, wanting to kind of finish the job at the minor league level, but big leagues is the place to be.
Presley in center field handles that for out number 2. And Barnes will be batting next. Brandon 1 for 3 in this game. It's the Athletics 2 and the Rangers nothing. They're in the bottom of the 3rd in a very important series in Oakland. Yoenis Cespedes hit his 21st home run. Oakland 1 game behind Texas.
That's got to be quite uncomfortable in Arlington.
Yeah, it is, but they're in Oakland for that ball game, so everything's cool. There's strike 1. I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah, well, as long as you know.
Yeah. It's hot. It's uncomfortable. Oakland's 1 game behind them.
Humidity's not quite as overbearing as maybe here in Houston.
0-2. Kevin Chapman warming up. There you see Boston's lead, Detroit's lead. There's the only race in the AL West.
Those Red Sox have taken off flying ever since you asked me the question, who's going to win the American League East? And I said Tampa Bay.
It's almost as if the Red Sox were waiting for you to make that pronouncement. Still no balls, 2 strikes for Renicky.
Yeah, and you can say Tampa Bay looks still like they will pick up the wild card, but boy, is it different these days now. 1 game play in.
That's fouled away, and it's still 0-2. Renicky, who's 31, is from Baltimore. His father is Gary Renicky, former Major League outfielder and scout now. His uncle is the Brewers manager, Ron Renicky. Josh pitched for Colorado last year. He was in 63 games with a 4-2 record and a 3.25 ERA. Began his career with Cincinnati, then he moved on to Toronto. He gets a strikeout, has a 1-2-3 7th inning. Now the bullpens are taking over, and the game stays close. 6-5 Astros.
Guest Kevin Eschenfelder has the sporting world covered on Sports Talk Live weekdays at 5 p.m. only on Comcast Sportsnet. Guys.
Yes, he does, and he'll also have dancing covered when he teams up with Julia on Dancing with the Stros, September 15th.
Saw a little Duck Dynasty there. I'm also the head of Princess Cruise Lines.
Trevor Plouffe in a 1-run game leads it off. There's strike 1. Plouffe is 3 for 3. Josh Fields starting his 3rd inning of relief work. Pitcher number 3 for the Astros, stretching it out today. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Last outing for Josh was in Chicago against the White Sox, August 27th. That was last Tuesday. And he faced only one batter in that one through 6 pitches. Quite a different outing for Josh, and it's gone very well for him. He's faced only 6 and he's gotten 6 outs. It's 1 and 2. So relievers have been the story of the day in this game. Swarzak going 4 1/3, giving up 1 run. Renicky had a 1-2-3 7th. Fouled away. The starters went, in Albert's case, 1 2/3 innings. In Clemens' case, 3 2/3 innings. And Fields begins his 3rd inning of work with Herman on deck and Colabello due up 3rd. Fields bounces the curveball. It's a 2-ball, 2-strike count for Josh. He has pitched scoreless baseball in 6 of his last 7 outings. He missed 51 games on the DL with a right forearm strain early this season. But now getting in his work here in the second half, and the Astros bullpen will have to be called upon for important outs in this 1-run game now. It's a 3-ball, 2-strike count for Josh Fields. There's a big difference in the seasonal numbers for these 2 bullpens. Of course, the composition of the Astros pen quite different than it was a couple of months ago. That's way up for ball 4. Leadoff walk to Plouffe. 2nd walk for Fields. And that's number 6 for Astros pitching. Now Bo Porter is going to go to the left side of his bullpen with Herman, the left-handed hitting catcher, due up next. Chapman has been warming up. So it's going to be Kevin Chapman getting the call to be pitcher number 4 in this game for Houston. And we'll be right back.
Astros Trivia brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. We posed that question, and the answer now, who was the starting pitcher in that Game 7 of the World Series, 10th inning, is what you're seeing right there. That starting pitcher, none other than Jack Morris. Dan Gladden scoring the run, by the way. Jack Morris, one of the game's great competitors at the time. That was a great World Series. A lot of fun, and they had the White Yankees going there at the Metrodome in Minnesota.
And we'll see you tomorrow night after the Game 6 homer by Kirby Puckett, leading up to that Game 7. Here's another trivia question for you, but first of all, let's set the pitcher and the batter. We have a pinch runner at first base, Doug Bernier. He is pinch running for Plouffe, and Kevin Chapman's in the game facing Chris Herman. He's around to bunt. Lefty on lefty, taking ball 1. Herman is 2 for 3 in this game, and Chapman is on a roll. He has tied a franchise record with that ERA of 0 for his first 12 major league appearances. He has given up a homer and 2 unearned runs, but no earned runs. Third baseman Dominguez in tight. The pitch is a ball, and it's 2-0 to Herman. Chapman has really been putting together fine performances, including one in the Seattle series. 2 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no runs. Coming in with his club down 3-2 in the 7th inning on Thursday. That was his last outing.
It's one of those scenarios where you must throw a strike. They're trying to give you an out. Yeah, they're trying to move the runner, but it is time to throw a strike.
Chapman, facing the Twins for the first time in his career, has become the lefty short man in the bullpen. Eric Bedard, the other left-hander for Houston. Bunted back toward Chapman. Chapman throws to Altuve on the sacrifice. Bernier to second, 1 out. 1-4 play.
It appeared the call was first base all the way, and for the pitcher who can't see behind him towards second base, that's a must. Go ahead and get your out. Might have been a borderline opportunity, and you can't really take that shot at the borderline for out number 1 here this late in the ball game. Let's see what it looks like from this angle. Could you holler second right there? Be a close play.
Chris Colabello pumped a home run to the Astros bullpen in the 4th inning. He's 1 for 3. That's strike 1 for Kevin Chapman. Traded by Kansas City to Houston in the Humberto Quintero, Jason Bourgeois deal. He has served the Astros well since being promoted from AAA Oklahoma City. Colabello showed his opposite field power with that long ball. Inside, and it's a 1-ball 1-strike count. We were hearing the story on Colabello, and you already told about his independent league play. He's 29 years old, and he got the call up when his AAA club Rochester was on the road, and he was on the back of the bus, and the manager came back about midnight and said, you're on a 5 a.m. flight to Atlanta to join the Twins tomorrow. He was playing cards at the time. Just overjoyed about that, of course. But then what happened was really weird. A driver hit the bus, caused an accident. They had a delay of several hours. So he wound up making it to the airport about 10 minutes before his flight was to leave. And they got him on the plane. And he made it to Atlanta. And he actually wound up taking part in his first major league game with just a little sleep.
That must have been a bit harried.
That's a strikeout looking. Out number 2 as Chapman steams it in over the outside edge.
Wasn't so sure that Joe West was going to come up with his right fist, but after a little delay, Joe likes what he saw.
Clark held it right there. Now Ryan Doumit comes out. Pinch hitting for Cleat Thomas. Doumit, a long-time National Leaguer with the Pittsburgh Pirates, a switch hitter, brings a .239 batting average into this game with 11 homers. He has 49 runs batted in. He's 0 for 9 pinch hitting, and his right-handed at-bats have gone better. .280 as a right-handed batter, .221 left-handed. Doug Brocail coming out, probably just reviewing the scouting report on Doumit. Chapman with this opportunity to get a right-hander, and for the final out here in the top of the 8th inning, going over Ryan Doumit, who's had some very good years. He's been a catcher, and he's also moved to other positions along the way, but he's always hit pretty well throughout his career. .272 major league average. Last year had a big year for the Twins. .275, 18 homers, 75 runs batted in. That was his best RBI year as a major leaguer. Doumit's 32 years old. Twins signed him as a free agent. That's in the dirt, and it's ball 1. Florimon is on deck. So of the two, Doumit would garner a lot more respect, but he also would represent the go-ahead run. So far, he hasn't seen anything he likes, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. Domit was 3 for 13 in that series in Minnesota against the Astros with an RBI. He looks at it, and it's ball 3. And it appears as if Doug Brocail might have said, don't give in to this guy, or something along those lines.
Yeah, once you get to this point and they'll put him on, you don't want to mess with it and hang something and give up a key base hit. So they'll go ahead and put that potential go-ahead run at first base.
Walk number 7 for Astros pitching, and Florimon will bat. And like Domit, Florimon is a switch hitter, but unlike Domit, he's much better as a left-handed batter. In this game, Florimon 1 for 3, an RBI single in the 4th inning. All 9 of Florimon's career homers have come batting left-handed in the big leagues. He looks at ball 1. .167 against lefties, .296 though since the 11th of July. And now Chapman has missed again to go to 2-0 in the count. 6 straight balls for Chapman. Right-handed batters are 1 for 12 against Kevin coming into this appearance today. That's a strike, and it's 2-1.
He's pumped the fastball right through on the 2-0. That's a dicey scenario. Get a hitter guessing fastball and you just pump it through, give up a huge hit. At the same time on the other side, a lot of times that take comes into play.
Line shot into center field. Potential tying run coming home. Bernier to make it a 6-6 ball game. RBI single for Florimon, and the Twins have come back to tie it.
Now, because of falling behind on a couple of hitters after coming in, Chapman has to come fastball again, and you would anticipate that Florimon was looking for exactly that. He gets a fastball down around the knees, but drills it up the middle. Can't just keep falling behind on guys and leave them guessing as to what might come.
Well, the Twins have come back to tie it at 6. That was hit number 11 for them. Florimon has had 2 of those hits and 2 of those runs batted in as well. Out of the 9 spot in the order. Now it's Alex Presley, 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. Well, the run is charged to Josh Fields, who at 2 innings allows no hits, 1 run, walks 2, and fans 2. And Presley takes strike 1. In that Rangers Athletics game, 2-0, bottom of the 4th inning, Oakland leading it. Derek Holland started for Texas. Dan Straley is the Oakland starter. Cespedes hit the home run off Holland. Lance Berkman is DHing for Texas in that game. Swing makes it 0-2 now to Presley. Chapman from Coral Springs, Florida, and the University of Florida trying to get out of this inning and send it to the bottom of the 8th tide with Hose, VR, and Grossman due up. That's strike 3, and that'll end it in the Twins' 8th, but they have come back. They trail 5-1 after 2, and now they've created a 6-6 game in the 8th.
On sale now. Lock in your seats by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com. Guys.
Thanks, Julia. We have several changes. There is Doug Vanier staying in to play third base after pinch running for Trevor Plouffe. Mastriani shifts over to left field from right. Ryan Doman staying in the game to play right field for the Twins. 2 bench players remaining to be used by Ron Gardenhire. And L.J. Hose leads it off here in the home 8th inning. He is 0 for 3 in this game. 2 groundouts and a strikeout. Showing bunt, and he takes from Renicky. It's upstairs for ball 1. The idea is to get on base. VR and Grossman to follow. Whether it's a bunt or a walk or whatever it might be, third baseman Vanier is in tight. In the air, and the first sacker, Colabello chasing it. Now second baseman has an angle on it, and it's Dozier with the catch. 1 out. VR will follow. VR doubled in the second inning. He walked in the third, stole a base and scored, and in the 5th struck out looking.
This is a guy you'd love to see on base and then kickstart that running game a bit.
He can do that. Yankees are pounding the White Sox 9-1 in the bottom of the 7th at Yankee Stadium. Showing bunt, VR brings in the third baseman, taking ball 1. Renicky's retired the first 4 he's faced. His Twins bullpen has really allowed them to come back and tie this game. That pitch is up, and it's 2-0. Masterson left that start against the Orioles for Cleveland with soreness on the left side of his rib cage. And he's the big guy on that Indian staff. It's 3-0 to VR. Could be a big loss if he's out for any amount of time for Terry Francona. Strike, and it's 3-1 for Jonathan VR. Paul Konerko hit his 10th home run for the White Sox. Only run at Yankee Stadium as they play the bottom of the 7th. Padres lead the Giants 4-1. They're in the top of the 5th. Now it's a 3-2 count to VR. Nick Hundley hit his 11th home run for San Diego. Ian Kennedy on the mound. Rockies 3, Dodgers 1, top of the 3rd in Colorado. Rockies got 3 in the 1st. There is a 1-out walk. Twins have walked 3 in this game, compared to the Astros 7 walks. Gardenhire takes a walk himself as Grossman comes up to the plate. Robbie's been on 3 times: double, bunt single, and walk.
Robbie presents a nice guy at the plate. Not only does he bat left-handed to enable maybe VR to get a little extra possibility, catcher with a tougher time trying to see, but Robbie likes to take pitches, maybe provide that opportunity for the running game.
VR stole his 12th in the 3rd inning when he pilfered third base on a close play. Robbie shows bunt, takes a ball.
That is a tough slide step from Renicky.
Twins have allowed 62 stolen bases. They have caught 27 this year. Clayton Kershaw giving up 3 in the 1st for the Dodgers in Colorado today. Runner going, swing and a miss. The throw bouncing, and he's still out at second. On the tag by Florimon. A one-hop throw from Herman. Still got it done for out number 2.
Why the swing there, you might say? Well, apparently hit and run. With that slide step, the running game becomes so tough, and so Robbie Grossman, my guess would be hit and run to take a swing at this pitch.
Yeah.
Unless he's just heady enough to see the runner going and then try to apply some difficulty for the catcher.
Well, that could be. Counts 1-1. Now 1-2. The way he swung, he did not attempt to hit the ball, so he was just trying to provide protection for the base runner.
Which could lean toward the latter in terms of the possibility.
Really could, Ash. And Grossman strikes out to make it a not 1-2-3-8, but they face only 3 in the 8th inning. We go to the 9th, and it's tied at 6. Tonight, it's the Astros and Twins squaring off in Game 2 of this series. And Jared Cozart will be pitching for Houston. Astros pregame live starts tomorrow night at 6:30 only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Now let's take a look at tomorrow's pitching matchups brought to you by Chevron. Care for your car. Pedro Hernandez is the man for the Minnesota Twins. 3-1 with a .554. His last start coming against the Indians. And Jared Cozart goes to the mound, making his 9th Major League start, just 1-1. And look at that ERA through 8 starts, 159. That despite maybe not being at his best in a number of those starts, and yet with his great stuff, he finds a way to shut down the opposition.
It's tomorrow night at 6:30 for that. Here is pitcher number 5 of the game now, warming up for the Astros, Chai-Jen Low. Kevin Chapman in 1 inning, allowed 1 hit, no runs. He had a walk, which was intentional, and struck out 2. Low is 2 for 4 in saves in 11 innings. He's allowed 9 hits, 8 walks, 8 strikeouts, an 0-2 record at 2.54 ERA, 2.45 ERA.
Look what the left-handers have had dropped on him by Low. 150 the batting average, yet righties hitting 300. That's a tough split to figure.
We'll be facing Darren Mastriani to lead it off. Mastriani is 1 for 4, an RBI double. Chai-Jen Low, 26 years old, from Taiwan. And he's ahead in the count, 0-1. The Astros have Altuve, Clark, and Dominguez due up in the last of the 9th inning. That's in for a strike on a breaker, and it's no balls, 2 strikes for Chai-Jen Low. Kevin Chapman with another scoreless appearance, even though the runner he inherited did score and was charged to Josh Fields. Now has a club record to begin a career, 13 straight scoreless appearances as far as earned runs are concerned. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tom Martin had 12 straight scoreless appearances to start his career, 97. And that covers 9 2/3 innings for Kevin Chapman. Foul back, still a 1 ball, 2 strike count to Mastriani. Bud Norris and the Orioles have moved ahead of Cleveland now 5-0. They're in the top of the 4th inning. Nate McLouth hit his 10th home run for the O's. Blue Jays 2, Diamondbacks nothing at the end of 5 in Arizona. Esmil Rogers pitching for Toronto. Upstairs for ball 2. That makes it 2-2. Big difference in these teams in a couple of areas. The Twins are 21 and 20 in one-run games. The Astros 16 and 28. The Twins bullpen has a 3.14 ERA. Astros 5.24. Struck him out. 1 out for Lowe.
He's blown it by. 93. We've seen Lowe get a little higher than that with velocity.
He got that one in a pretty good place. Now Brian Dozier. Dozier hit the home run in the 5th inning. He walked in the 3rd, 1 for 3. That's strike 1 to him. Lowe last pitched on Thursday against Seattle. Went 2/3 of an inning. Oh, 2. Well, with these pitchers who haven't been in the big leagues before, now in the month of September, and they're going to be going through a longer season than they've been used to, with Lowe and Josh Zeid, Kevin Chapman, Josh Fields, Jorge De Leon. The Astros are mixing in some veteran former starters to help out with the innings in the bullpen. Chris Carter goes over, and it's out of play, so they can call on Eric Bedard from time to time, Lucas Harrell, who came into this game earlier, and Philip Humber. All of those 3 were in the rotation to open the season, all now in the bullpen. The Twins are getting their closer ready, Glenn Perkins, along with right-hander Casey Fiend. Up the middle, VR throws, not in time, and it gets by and goes out of play and went down the opening into the dugout as the throw was late and then errant. It's ruled a hit and an error on VR. That's VR's 7th error. And by the time he threw it, it didn't appear he had any kind of chance at getting Dozier, and then he gave him an extra base with the errant throw.
This play, you get accustomed to seeing the really gifted shortstop making the throw a little earlier in terms of steps taken right there. That's a very tough play for a shortstop running to his left. But it also took a couple of extra steps there for VR to get rid of the throw.
It's the 101st error for the Astros this season. Josh Willingham's the batter. He is 0 for 3 with a walk. That's strike 1 to Willingham. Astros have allowed 69 unearned runs this year. Twins trying to take advantage of the miscue. And that can be significant. A runner at 2nd and 1 out. Foul back with Bernier on deck. No balls, 2 strikes. Braves bombed the Mets 13-5. Freddie Freeman homered and drove in 5. It's his 18th home run. Paul Maholm goes to 10 and 10, beating Daisuke Matsuzaka. He's 0 and 3. Tigers shut out the Red Sox in Boston 3-0. Doug Fister going to 12 and 7 with the win. Jose Veras getting save number 21, and John Lackey, the losers, 8 and 12. One ball, 2 strikes to Josh Willingham. Charlie Morton in Pittsburgh won at Milwaukee 5-2. Morton Herman goes to 7-3, beating Tyler Thornburg, and Mark Melanson picks up save number 10. So the Buccos remain atop the NL Central. That's a strikeout looking. Number 2 for Lowe.
Little surprising to see Willingham take a third strike. An aggressive hitter, a guy who is well accustomed to the big scenarios in a game.
Exactly. Now Doug Bernier is the batter. 245 for Doug. No homers. He's driven in 5. He's had 49 at bats. In the dirt. Clark keeps it close. Ball 1. Clark's done a really nice job catching, blocking pitches in the dirt, and throwing and framing balls.
Very quietly done, keeping this ball right there. Watch how little movement is necessary. Glove comes up a bit, but does a fine job.
Bernier came up from the minors July 14th. Off the plate for a ball. And makes it 2-0. Got his first major league hit a week later at Cleveland. He's on a 4-game hitting streak right now. He started at AAA Rochester. He hit .295 there. Had 3 homers, 41 runs batted in, and 302 at bats. Dozier the base runner with 2 outs in the 9th. And now Bernier has worked the count to 3-0. King Felix has lost again. The Royals beat the Mariners in Kansas City 3-1. Hernandez now 12-9. Greg Holland's got his 37th save for the Royals today. They go to 71-66 with the win. In for a strike. 3-1 to Bernier. In Chicago, it was Marlins 4, Cubs 3. Alvarez the winner, Wood the loser. Cishek save number 29. And Alvarez hit his first career home run. Now it's 3-2 as Bernier fouls it. The Pirates winning in Milwaukee and the Cardinals losing in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh now takes a 1-game lead again over St. Louis. Herman's on deck. 3-2 is ball 4, and Herman will bat with 2 men on and 2 out. Lowe threw that one in the dirt. Now Herman, who has had a couple of hits and a sac bunt, try to give the Twins the lead. That is now 8 walks for Astros pitching. The Astros got 3 in the first, 2 in the second. They led 5-1 after 2. Twins started chipping away in the middle innings. They tied it with an 8th inning run on the single by Florimon. That was a 2-out hit. Fouled away. There's strike 1 to Herman. Each club with 6 runs on 12 hits. The Astros have 2 errors, to the Twins none. Each club is stranded 7. Twins are 15-7 against the teams in the American League West. Herman looks at a strike, and now it's 0-2 for Lowe. It's great seasoning for these young Astros relievers in tight games in the late innings. Lowe started his career with 7 scoreless appearances before he allowed a run. First Taiwanese player ever to play for the Astros. Not chasing. Herman takes ball 1. back, and it's still a 1-ball, 2-strike count.
Very good swing on the 95-mile-an-hour heat.
Berman takes it, and it's a ball for a 2-2 count now.
Lays off nicely on that changeup. With Lowe, the fastball is highly the likely pitch you're going to get, but he will come with that change.
If he throws another ball, the runners will be moving on that next pitch. And he does. So it goes to 3-2, and Dozier off second and Bernier off first will be moving on this next full count delivery. Back-to-back walks, and now it's Colabello coming up. No action in the Houston bullpen. Doug Brocail goes out. Colabello hit a home run in the 4th inning. He is 1 for 4. Just got a release that tomorrow some Astros players and coaches will be visiting the 2 fire stations that lost firefighters in the deadly motel blaze that claimed 4 lives in May, to thank them for their vital service to the Houston community. Jason Castro, Jake Elmore, Josh Fields, Lucas Harrell, and Josh Zide scheduled to go. And now Josh Zide has started warming up. They'll be appearing at Fire Station 51 on Bel Air and Fire Station 68 on Bissonnette from 12:30 to 1:30 tomorrow, simultaneously at both. Bases loaded for Colabello. Hits it high toward the bullpen wall in right field again. And that is going to be a grand slam for Colabello. His 2nd home run of the day. And the Twins take a 10-6 9th inning lead.
First pitch, high fastball that gets drilled, and what a story Colabello is and has been this afternoon.
That's a 4th grand slam allowed by the Astros this season. Twins hit number 3 of the year in the grand slam department, and they now have a 4-run advantage. They've trailed from the outset until they tied it in the 8th. They were down 5-1 after 2. Now they're up 10-6.
About this guy with 7 seasons played in independent ball and now has a pair of home runs, both opposite field, and won a grand slam.
That's amazing. Strike to Ryan Domet.
Having managed independent ball in the minor leagues, I find the story so compelling.
It's a long road for Chris Colabello.
Not quite the great extension like we saw on the previous home run, but this one carried equally as well.
Doman looks that one over. What a day for Chris Colabello. All those bus rides in the minor leagues, he explodes in this one. for 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in, giving him 6 homers now, 13 runs batted in. Ground ball, and the shift is on, so Altuve is there in right field to throw out Domi. But the Twins get 4 runs on 2 hits with 1 error, and they lead it 10-6. Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Jack in the Box. Go big on participating Jack in the Boxes with Jack's really big chicken sandwich combos for only $3.99 plus tax. Josh Renicky now could be the winning pitcher after 2 innings of hitless relief. He walked 1 and fanned 2. And this bullpen has been magnificent today for Ron Gardenhire. Now he turns it over to the former Astro farmhand Casey Fiend. And this right-hander will come in to face the Astros 2-3-4 hitters in the 9th inning. He's 3-2. His ERA 4.00. The whip below 1. Ash.
It's been very nicely balanced against lefties and righties. Overall 223. 9 home runs allowed, and maybe the Astros have to find a way to get their first long ball and maybe multiples here in the inning to get it done.
Jose Altuve leads it off. There's strike 1 to Jose, who has 3 hits in this game. Casey Fiend last year with the Twins pitched in 35 games with a 2-1 record, a 2.06 ERA. He was in the big leagues with Detroit in 09 and 2010. Pitched for Oklahoma City in 2011. Astros had signed him as a free agent in November of 2010. He's pitched twice effectively against Houston this year. 2 innings, no hits, no runs. He got a hold in a 6-4 win at Minnesota August 3rd. That's cranked out to left field by Jose Altuve, and that one hits high, stays in play. Here's a throw to second. They got a shot at him, and he slides past the bag and gets back, but he's out. Altuve tagged out. Mastriani in left field played that one off the wall, and Altuve is gunned down with a single and a play at second for out number 1.
Down in the bottom of the 9th inning, just can't have this happen. Another fine at bat for Jose Altuve as he's starting to get the wood heated up. No doubt about it, and gets a good pitch to handle. But you better be digging that first step out of the box if you're going to go for 2 here.
7-4 play for out number 1. Now Cody Clark takes, and there's strike 1 to him. The Astros have now gone 160 plate appearances in between home runs. And now Clark fouls it back. It's no balls, 2 strikes. Brett Wallace hit the last Houston homer Thursday night in the 5th inning against Seattle in the 3-2 loss. Twins have bombed 4 home runs in this game. Each club has 13 hits. Dominguez on deck. Fouling it back. No balls, 2 strikes.
Oh, nice to see that bat coming back alive. Now he's really digging. He knows he's in trouble. And he knows well before this point that he may have made a mistake. At this point, there is no may about it.
Fouled away. Well, usually, as you can tell in that replay, on plays of this nature, when you review what happened between home and first, that's where it could have been different.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was no loafing that you could point to, but it wasn't full out like it was between first and second.
Clark tried to check his swing, and the appeal goes to first. He did not go. 1-2. And a strikeout for out number 2.
Stay tuned for Postgame Live, presented by MD Anderson, making cancer history.
Astros down to their final out. It's Matt Dominguez, 0 for 4. He looks at ball 1. The Astros record when they had the lead after 7 innings is 34-15. And in this ball game, the tying run scored in the 8th, so this could be the 16th game they've lost when they've led after 7 innings. 1 ball, 1 strike to Matt Dominguez. It's 1-2. Well, they scored 6 runs in the first 3 innings. And then Minnesota Twins bullpen started shutting them down. So they've had 5 shutout innings in a row out of this bullpen for Ron Gardenhire after their starter went an inning and 2/3. They got a run off Swarzak in the 3rd. Foul back. Still a 1 ball, 2 strike count. Astros relievers have surrendered 2 more homers in this game. They have allowed 77 home runs this year.
Could become the 36th loss for the bullpen this season.
Top third base way. Backhanded, and there's Panier making the play. That ends it, and the Minnesota Twins roar back from a 5-1 deficit after 2 to a thrilling come from behind win with a grand slam in the 9th from Colabello, winning it 10-6.